Hello and welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 World Tour. We are taking off from we're taking off from Cape Breton Island, I believe in Nova Scotia, and we are going to try to get to St. John's in Newfoundland, Labrador, both in Canada. We'll see if we can do that. We tried to take off from St. John, Nova Scotia to get to St. John's, Newfoundland, Labrador last time, but that was far too great a distance, and we decided to stop in Cape Breton Island. I believe it's Nova Scotia. Could be wrong on that. But we are about to take off. It is currently Saturday, May 28th at 12:50 p.m. We are going to listen to first the Friday, May 27th episode of the Tony Kornheiser Show, and then we'll probably move on to the Friday, May 27th segments of the Sharp and Benning radio show, the Omaha, Nebraska radio show that I listen to. So we're about to take off. It is pretty cloudy in Newport today. Looks like the weather's cloudy but not horrible up in Cape Breton Island. So let's take off in just a second here as we queue up the Tony Kornheiser Show from Friday, May 27th.
Tony Kornheiser Show.
Not everybody has wisdom teeth.
Wait, you still have your wisdom teeth?
Yes. Carol said the same thing. You still have these things? I just assumed that since they grew in my body, I didn't see there was something. Do I have to get rid of them?
Not if it's not affecting your mouth. I guess not.
Doesn't seem to be.
I had what are called impacted wisdom teeth. They come in like sideways, so you have to take them out at that point.
Okay, well mine
yours
didn't come in like a rat. Mine came in regular, like in a regular person's mouth.
The Tony Kornheiser Show is on now.
Alrighty then. First, let me just say I got something the other day. Save the date. I got it yesterday. It came in the mail. Save the date. March 25th, 2023. That's next March. Katie and Brian. They're getting married in Jersey City. Katie Hecker and Brian Hoffman. I don't think I know them. Do you know them?
I don't, but this might give you a reason to go to Southern Jersey, which could work in your favor.
Yeah, well, no, it's Jersey City.
Oh.
Jersey City's up by Manhattan.
Yeah.
You know them, Nigel?
I am not familiar with them, no.
Well, thanks.
Yes, but Mazel Tov.
I mean, yeah, lots of luck. Lots of luck. And I will save the date. I save all dates. I have nothing to do, really. All right, I know you're going to want to hear about our thoughts on Ray Liotta dying, but Ann Hornaday is going to be on the show today, so we'll talk to Ann about that rather than we talk about it. He was in one of the greatest movies of all time. I mean, they've been making movies for over 100 years, and I would say that Goodfellas is in the top 100. I'm not going to tell you it's in the top 5 or top 10 or top 20, anything like that, but it's in the top 100. It's one of the greatest movies I've ever seen, anyway. The basketball stinks. All right, it stinks. The NBA playoffs stink, and the reason they stink, there's no drama. There's no close and late. A team at some point goes up by 20, and that's the end. The Miami-Boston series, it's happened in every game. One team stinks, and the other team's really good. There's nothing to it. The Golden State-Dallas series, nothing to it. Golden State 1-5 and could have 1-4.
Yeah.
And they didn't care about Game 4 because they knew they were getting on a plane after Game 4 and going home. And they knew they were going to close it out at home. They're 9-0 at home in the playoffs. Nobody beats them at home in the playoffs. I know Wilbon loves the NBA. And a lot of people love the NBA. The ratings happen to be up. The product is how do I put this? The product is great. They're great athletes. The games aren't great. The games lack all tension. All you ever want in a basketball game or any sporting event is for it to be close and late. And somebody comes up and hits a shot at the buzzer. There's been nothing like that. One game, Boston. I think Boston over Milwaukee, one game late.
Oh, yeah.
Jason Tatum made a layup or something like that.
Yes.
But there's 50 games. Nothing else has been particularly good. Certainly nothing in the latter stages of the playoffs has been particularly good. Now, I think if it's Golden State and Boston, I think people will tune in. And there's always the potential for 2 or 3 games going down to the wire. But to this point, it's extremely unsatisfying. Am I wrong on this?
Jesse, big NBA fan, just note that, please. In terms of the overall strength of the NBA, good or bad, the fact that Golden State's going back, this is what, 6 out of 8 years?
It's great. People like Golden State, like to watch Golden State. People actively like Steph Curry. They actively like watching the three of them, Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. They actively like them. That's very hard to find in the NBA.
So is that likable factor that keeps them away from like the super team category? That would be the thing that marks you down a little bit?
Well, they're not a super team anymore because they won a couple of championships on their own, or got to two, won one, got to two. Won 73 games one year. Didn't win that year, though. And then Kevin Durant came. And then they won a couple with Kevin Durant. And then Kevin Durant left because Kevin Durant, that's what he does. He shows up for a little while and then he leaves and he shows up somewhere else and tries to get a championship. It hasn't worked so far in Brooklyn. They're not a super team. When you look at them, to me, a super team has one star who can win the game from anywhere at any time. And you might say it's Steph Curry, but Steph Curry can't go inside necessarily and win the game at any time. He's not going to block a shot like LeBron James will. He's not going to do that. He's a great, great player. He's an all-time player. But I don't put him in that sort of Magic, Bird, LeBron, Jordan thing. I don't. I mean, I think he's great. But the product they've put out there for people to consume isn't very good. And the last thing you want is somebody dribbling out the last 20 seconds of the game because it's a 12-point game.
Yeah.
The amount of games that have finished 10 or more is amazingly high. It's just amazingly high. You don't get that in hockey.
Well, I think
you don't get that in hockey.
They had a stat from the Boston-Miami series that in the first 4 games, there were 4 lead changes. Total.
In 4 games.
So it's not really great back and forth
It's just nothing. So the Nats are on a 2-game win streak. The Nats won the other night, not last night, the other night. They beat the Dodgers 1-0.
First team to shut the Dodgers out in a long time.
They shut out the Dodgers, and they had 3 different relievers pitch an inning each. And did all of them scare you? Yes. But did they get out of it? Even Tanner Rainey from Covington, Louisiana, did Tanner Rainey get out of it after walking people, as he always does? It's the only guy in the world with 97 mile an hour, 98 mile an hour stuff who doesn't find the plate when they put him in. And he's really, if he was good, Michael, if he was good, he'd be a lights-out closer.
Yeah, he'll probably be great somewhere else.
Yeah.
Does he nibble on the corner? Or
No. When he misses big.
No, he could throw Nuclear Loose style. He could throw it over the backboard. He could do that. But they had a great game. And then last night, Patrick Corbin,
Your ace.
in what I would call late May, finally got his first win. He went into the 7th. He's never gone through the 7th, I don't think. Maybe he has this year. But he went into the 7th, and then a bunch of relievers came in, and they had a cushion. They were up for a while, and it looked
Not a
like
big
early
cushion.
on. It looked like early on Patrick Corbin was giving it all back because it was 4-1.
You get 4 runs of the first.
It was 1, and you got 4, and then suddenly it was 4-3.
4-3.
Yeah, it was 4-3. So, but I watched.
It scared you an inning after that until you got the double play after a few errors on the field.
Lovely double play. 5-4-3 double play.
But he's pitching efficiently.
Yeah, so he was fine. And they win that. Colorado, not a great team. But, Michael, you point something out that's interesting about Colorado and Arizona.
Yeah, you just look at where
West.
they are. Yeah, where they are. They're both close to 500 teams. And actually put either of those teams in the East, they're sort of neck and neck with the Braves and Phillies.
Yeah. So, what else did I want to talk about? I went last night.
Was this the first time you've crossed the Lion Bridge in a year, 2 years?
Well, I went down there one time before to drop something off at Shaw and Shaw. And
This is the
somebody in
Taft.
corner.
When he didn't send me down to Sean Shaw.
Yeah, well, they got 2 of my pieces now, and I'd like to get them back, and I'm not going down there. But I crossed the bridge, and I went to the French residence. Not the embassy, I don't think. I think it's the residence on Calorama.
Yeah, the embassy's over by Georgetown.
Yeah, and I
Close
went
also.
to see an old colleague of mine, Bill Drozdiak, get honored by the French government. Win some sort of, it's not the Croix de Guerre, but it's sort of like the Croix de Guerre. And they pin it on your chest, and it's a medal. It doesn't say anything, and you're supposed to know what it is. If you're in France, I guess you're supposed to. Sort of like in France, it's probably the equivalent of an Oscar. People say, oh, you got one of those. That's great. So the French ambassador to the United States, honored Droz, who for many years was the Washington Post foreign correspondent and has in his life been stationed in France and has just written a book about Macron. and has been a friend of France and a friend of wine for a long time, Bill Drozdiak. And what stands out about Bill Drozdiak is pretty simple. He's 6'8". Bill Drozdiak started at the University of Oregon on the basketball team. One of his dear friends at that period of time was Bobby Moore, who you would know better as Ahmad Rashad. They were pals at Oregon. Ahmad played on the football team, and Droz played, as we like to say, the Crown Prince Drozdiak played on the basketball team. He was drafted by the Golden State Warriors. He didn't make the team. Went over to Europe and played for a while. Went to France, played for a while, and that's how he got involved in France and all the things French. He's fluent in French. It's got an American accent to it. You can tell it's not native, but it's fluent in French. He's got 3 kids. He brought 2 of them and his wife to this nice thing. I wore a mask for half of it and then took it off because I was really in the back, and I was standing behind George and Hazel Solomon, who I think are good. I thought they could shield me. They could pick up the germs instead of me. And then I, said hello to a couple of people, and then I left. But one of the things, and I'm happy for Droz, and you would ask how I know him. Well, he used to come to the Olympics. He's a former athlete. He understands the Olympics, and he understands the Olympic movement, and he understands foreign affairs, and so he's really valuable at Olympics. And that's how we got to know each other. Like him very much. Happy for him to get this award. But something else happened that I want to talk about briefly. At one point in Droz's remarks, half of which were in French and half of which were in English, and I understood the English part, he talked about a couple of guys in the room who he played with, who were still his friends after all this time, who he played with in France. Now, Droz graduated in 1971, so Droz's 70 years old, 70 plus. So these are friends for a long period of time. And at one point he mentions Carmine Calzanetti over there, who played with me in Europe. Well, this was like a giant light bulb going off in my head, because I know the name Carmine Calzanetti, because he was the point guard at St. John's. I know that name. And afterwards, Droz introduced me to Carmine Calzanetti, and we talked about Louis Carnesecca, and we talked about the fact, and Michael will appreciate this because he'll remember this name. I said, when were you done? And he said, I was done in 69. I said, okay, all right. I went to Newsday in 70 and began covering Frankie Alasia, and he said, Frankie took my number. Frankie went to St. John's as the point guard and took my number. So that was the lineage of the St. John's point guards. And Michael, you know that name from the great Jimmy Dunn. Yeah. Frankie Alasia works for the great Jimmy Dunn. And for me, this was such a small and wonderful moment. And Carmine Calzanetti said, let me introduce you to my wife, but his wife was talking to somebody else. I said, I'm just going to go. It's okay. His wife's a doctor. And so I wouldn't have known what he looked like, but it's a name you don't forget. Carmine Calzanetti is a Queens name, kids, and St. John's is in Queens, and he was the lead guard for 3 years, and that was thrilling for me to meet him. And talk about Louis. Louis is still alive. Louis, look this up. How old is Louis Carnesecca? I'm going to bet he's 95 years old.
So very happy he made it out of the attic.
Yeah.
And 2, this was at the...
I don't know. This may reverberate bad.
Did you get a nice glass of Sancerre where there's some good hors d'oeuvres?
I didn't eat anything, and I had a couple of sips of a glass of wine afterwards and got out of Dodge as quick as I could.
Was it a sippy cup?
No, it was, I felt I should leave. I felt I should not overstay my welcome. I was hoping it was an outdoor ceremony, but there was mist in the air last night, and they moved it to indoors, and I was exceedingly uncomfortable. I'll tell you in 4 days if I'm glad I did it, because at that point I'll have the virus. So we'll see. Well, how old is Louis?
Turned 97 this past January.
Yeah. Louis is the living, breathing history of college basketball in America.
Sure. Yes.
So we'll take a break. When we come back, Ann Hornaday will join us, yes?
That is correct.
Ann Hornaday will talk about Ray Liotta, a couple of movies. I might even ask her about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
This is the Tony Kornheiser Show. The Tony Kornheiser Show.
This is a ZipRecruiter ad. Certain people just make my life so much easier, and I don't know what I would do without them. For example, the man who put the bump in the bump, which I believe was Barry Mann, M-A-N-N.
Yes.
The guy who put the ram in the ram-a-lam ding dong. The man who put the bop in the bop, shoo-bop, shoo-bop. And then the guy who put the dip in the dip, the dip, the dip. Now that's the band, right? That's the band. That's Otis Day and the Knights. I mean, that's their song. So hit it. Am I right, Michael?
Yeah, Ramalama Ding Dong, yes.
Well, it's not Ramalama Ding Dong. It's
Oh,
Shamalama.
Shamalama Ding Dong.
It's not Ramalama Ding Dong.
Oh.
It's Shamalama Ding Dong.
It did.
It's like if you own a growing business and you need to hire, ZipRecruiter makes hiring so much easier because they do the work for you. And right now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/Tony. ZipRecruiter uses its powerful technology to find and match the right candidate up with your job. You can easily review these recommended candidates. You can invite your top choices to apply. 4 to 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. In fact, the hardest thing you have to do is remember our special URL, ZipRecruiter.com/Tony. That's where you go to try ZipRecruiter for free. Let's emphasize this. You can try this for free. If you run a business, you might want to do that. That's ZipRecruiter.com/TONY. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
You're listening to the Tony Kornheiser Show.
This is Kelly Proctor. She sends in a couple of songs and she writes, I'm so excited to write to you and send you my original music. Since before the podcast days, I've been a long-time listener and sports fan, even golf. I don't fit your typical demographic, being an African-American woman in my early 40s, but my connective tissue to the show is deep. I live in Evanston, Illinois, near Wilbon's precious Northwestern University. I listen to the podcast while jogging around the perimeter. I love all the DC weather, sports, traffic updates, and I graduated as valedictorian from the Howard University School of Law in 2004. Left DC after that. I'm a wife. My husband Jason often asks me if I'm listening to that crazy Tony Kornheiser when he hears a random jingle playing in the car. Why an attorney has original music brings us to the pandemic and me trying to stay sane. I barely knew a few chords on the guitar, but was able to write 10 songs and melodies for my debut album, Help Me Welcome the Storm. Thankfully, I partnered with some great musicians, Chris and Keeney, Will, and Isaiah, who produced and played for the album. This is called Help Me Welcome the Storm, which is also the title of the album. Once again, it's Kelly Proctor. We'll hear from her later as well. She plays in Ann Hornaday. We were going to talk about summer movies, but before we talk about Top Gun 2, and I asked the question, was this necessary? Because I don't know anything about it. But before I get to that, Ray Liotta suddenly passed away yesterday at 67, which is very young to me at my age. And I'd like you to tell me, Ray Liotta, as we know, is in one of the great movies, Goodfellas. He's the lead, actually. I mean, he's the romantic lead in Goodfellas. The story centers on him and his involvement in the Lufthansa heist with Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro. But it centers on Ray Liotta. What do we think of him as an actor and his career?
Oh, my gosh. Well, as you say, for one thing, I looked, and I cannot believe, and he's in, once the story in Goodfellas focuses on adult Henry Hill, I think Ray Liotta is in every scene of that movie, right? Like,
could be.
He carries that thing, and carries it so flawlessly. I cannot believe he was not nominated for an Oscar for that, you know, not let alone winning one. But my God, that performance holds up. And what the news, that shattering news, sent me back to, though, was, I think, like most people listening, he kind of burst into my consciousness with the movie Something Wild, which was really one of the great screen breakout performances, I think, at least in my memory, certainly of that era, maybe even of the 20th century. I mean, it was really one of those just absolutely electrifying things where you're like, who is that? Who is that person? What the hell? Because he, if you remember that movie, it kind of starts out as a little comedy, you know, like a goofy, zany comedy, and like, fish out of water, mismatched love matches, and then about an hour in, he arrives and completely turns the emotional weather around and just injects this, Nigel, our good friend, has this, he told me once about this acting term called the dangerous personality, and it's that kind of form of charisma that has a little bit of insecurity in it, a little anxiety built into it. And that's what he had all the way through, and it was probably hard for him to break out of. I mean, he was good in everything. The poor guy is almost like he couldn't not play danger because he just sort of exuded it, even if he couldn't help it.
I think he's one of those guys that should have had a better career.
Agreed.
In fact, in the last few years, when you'd see him doing tequila commercials, you'd say, "What are you doing?
Yeah.
You're Ray Liotta. What are you doing?" But I don't know why that happened. But I don't think he had the depth of career that someone with that talent should have. Am I wrong? I mean, I'm not a critic on that level. I'm just asking you.
No, I mean, considering that kind of out of the gateness, like Something Wild, and then to Field of Dreams,
Yeah.
and Goodfellas, it's like, like he was on a roll, and
Yeah.
then, who knows how those things happen. It could be a matter of his own taste. It could be a matter of his management. It could be, who the heck knows, right? Like, there's, urban legends abound. But then when you look, it's like he worked consistently. It's not like, he was always in there pitching. And then if you do that long enough, I think like what he did, you kind of come full circle. I mean, I don't know if you ever did see Marriage Story
I didn't.
a few years ago.
Didn't.
Oh, you know what? You should watch it anyway, but like, it's a great Ray Liotta performance. And it was that kind of thing where when he comes back, we're all like, yes, you're here, you're still here, you're still great. And it was a very sort of, it was a strong performance. He played a divorce lawyer, and it was like by this time in his career, he's able to be a little bit self-referential, and not in an obnoxious way, but just sort of like, where you sort of settle in, and it was just so gratifying to see. And then he did, of course, The Many Saints of Newark, which is a little bit of typecasting, but still interesting. And I don't know, it's just, like you said, way too soon. Just when you kind of feel like, oh, he's going to get that sort of second act that he always deserved. Anyway, it's a huge loss.
I'll say this about Ray Liotta in Goodfellas. And most of the time, like Robert De Niro's Al Pacino, they're always Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. Joe Pesci's
Right.
always Joe Pesci. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter how good the performance is. You know who they are.
Yeah.
Ray Liotta is 100% believable in that role from
Totally.
start to finish.
Totally.
Start to finish, he is Henry Hill. There's no question about it. He has
I know.
vulnerability. None of it is phony. It's just,
Right.
it's great. It's just
is.
great. It's just
I can't
great.
agree more. I just cannot agree more. And just like I said, the fact that, not that Oscars are everything, but damn, really? Like,
Yeah.
what do you have to do?
Yeah.
And holding, by the way, to your point, holding your own with those guys,
Yeah.
that can't be easy. And, holding your own with Scorsese's kind of filmmaking, which is a lot of bravura, that tracking shot.
Yeah.
And,
That's great.
it takes size, right, to match that and to meet that and to earn that. And like you said, he does it every single moment of that.
It's great.
Not a false move.
All right, let's go to the ridiculous. Top Gun 2. Do we need this movie? 50 years later, do we need this movie?
Yes. Who knew? I was like you. I was a little skeptical going in, and I am just here to tell you, yes, we do need it. Turned out we did all along. But I'm glad it took this long, because if it took them this long to make it, it needed that time to find its moment. But all right, we need to start with your emotional attachment to the first one.
I think it's a lovely movie. I think virtually everyone in it is a caricature. There's
Exactly.
nobody real in it, especially the sergeant, and all of that, who
Right.
yells at everybody all the time. But it's a lovely cartoon movie. It's
Okay.
wonderful. And I don't think it's Tom Cruise's best acting.
I don't either.
I think Tom Cruise is pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
But
No, you're right.
we all remember the movie.
Sure.
We all remember the movie, but that's why I'm
Okay.
saying we need another one.
Same. All right, so that's pretty much what I thought. It's almost, I think, in the ensuing years, Top Gun has almost entered the realm of camp.
Yes.
Because it was so over the top. And like you
Yes.
said, everything was magic hour, and it was so, the script was corny, and like, let's take a moment now and pause for a slow motion volleyball game on the beach with shirtless bronze. But you know what I mean?
Right.
It was so fetishistic and kind of over the top, like 80s synthesizer, Jerry Bruckheimer, testosterone, like
Yeah.
overkill. Okay, we can stipulate that. Now, and I agree with you completely about Cruise's performance. Definitely not his
No.
best. I
No.
think he was still finding his feet, and he was relying too much on that kind of cocky grin. And his character was obnoxious, frankly. I mean, he was written that way. Now, they've actually written a good script. I mean, it's like everything that was kind of lame
Really?
about that first. Oh, yeah. This is a smart, nuanced, funny, meaningful movie. And I say that with awe and wonder because I really did not expect that. Along with all of that spectacle that people loved in that first one, like the fancy flying and the loopy-loops and the dog fights and the joshing and the ribbing. I mean, structurally, it really follows almost beat for beat that first film. But it does so with so much more finesse and emotional depth. And I don't want to give too much away, but I mean, I was really ambushed by moments when I was moved, by some of it. Because this is a guy who's, it's 30 or 40 years later, and
Is he flying the plane still, or is he sitting out?
Of course, he's got to fly a plane. I mean,
He's 65. He can't fly the plane.
But he's so much. And Cruise is a better actor.
He's a better actor now. Oh, he's a good actor now.
And so
He knows who he is. He knows the movies he's great in. He's
sure
great.
does.
He's just all of those movies, the sort of
Agreed.
comedic danger movies, Mission Impossible movies, the one he did with Cameron Diaz, which is just wonderful. Which is not Mission Impossible. It's wonderful. Tom Cruise now knows who Tom Cruise needs to be.
Totally
but he's
agreed.
flying the plane?
Oh, he's flying the plane. Well, I don't know, no spoilers, but he's flying the plane. But he's going to fly that plane. But it's not just, so he's fantastic. And the whole thing, and I'm actually, plug, I'm going to be writing about this in tomorrow's paper. I think what I appreciated the most about this movie is and I think a lot of it's down to him, is the effortlessness. It's not labored. It's not trying to be something it's not. It's not trying to be super dark. It's not trying to be, yes, it does have tons of fan service and callbacks to that first one, but they're so easily integrated. It's not forced. Even Jennifer Connelly, who plays the love interest, her performance is so relaxed and kind of I know everything kind of feels right with this, and it's just it doesn't bonk you over the head with everything. It's just like a good old-fashioned Tom Cruise movie.
Are there any cameos? Are there any cameos by people who were in the first movie?
There are, and there's one in particular that's what I mean about the crying. It's like there's one that'll just that really got me, and that's the writing, and it's also the two actors involved. Like they absolutely nailed the moment, and no, it's wonderful. And they found some great supporting actors to play the new young pilots. There's one in particular named Glenn Powell, who's the kind of cocky, arrogant one. Just terrific. John Hamm, Ed Harris is in this in a little role, but just nails it. I don't know. Every element is working in this movie, and it's kind of wonderful.
I never would have expected this.
I didn't either.
I would have thought it would be craptastic.
And then I thought, this is the one I'm going to, like everyone's going to think I'm such a killjoy. But man, it just proves what, and again, I do credit Tom Cruise because he's a producer of this. And to your point, not only does he know what he's good in, but he makes sure that what he's good in is good. He is a control freak. To his credit, I feel like he made sure this one was right, and the script was solid, and he picked a good director, Joseph Kosinski. I don't know, all the elements are totally in play in this.
It's wonderful. I'm glad to hear that.
I'm glad
because
to be able to say it.
Yeah, Top Gun itself is a cartoon. It's a cartoon.
I mean, but
everybody knows it.
Oh yeah, I rewatched
everybody
it.
Knows
oh my God, it's hilarious. Actually, it's really funny.
Speaking of big stars, and Tom Cruise is a movie star.
Yeah.
Johnny Depp was a movie star.
Oh yeah.
Are you paying attention to this? Are you paying attention at all to Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, or do you take my position that the judge should say at some point, just get out of here, both of you, get out of here. I can't deal with this anymore.
I'm not. And I don't know if we've ever talked about it. I'm not on social media.
Nor am I.
So we have the luxury of being able to tune it out, but I gather from the articles I read in the newspaper, that if you are on social media, that you almost can't escape it. It's become such a viral, hateful thing, you know,
It's terrible.
it's really awful. I mean, just the way it's turned into this kind of circus, and it's pathetic and sad. And all you can wish for is health and healing for all parties involved.
Yes, and go away. And when it's over, just go. But it leads me to this question. As I said, Tom Cruise is a movie star. I'm not sure he's a movie star. I'm an old man. Maybe I'm wrong about this. Who's a movie star now? Because we haven't had movies in 2 years. People don't go. Who's a movie star? Are there any?
Well, this is the question, because you're right. Depp was. I mean, I remember. When you and I used to talk when I went to Cannes, and I would call from. Remember that those days? Yep. And that is when I would watch the Johnny Depp. I was. They did a Pirates of the Caribbean. Pirates of the Caribbean.
Should have been Pirates of the Caribbean.
Now there's a spinoff.
Yeah.
But watching people like him and Angelina Jolie walk a rope line there, there was something about their connection, the way, and this is, God knows Tom Cruise does it, like they put so much energy into that part of their work that it was really beautiful to behold. You know, I mean, it's like, damn, you do it, you know what to do, and you're doing it, and it was very generous, and that was and like I don't know if that's possible for Johnny Depp anymore. I mean, I think he certainly has his rabid fans who are turning out with this situation. I think this Maverick movie is probably going to be a kind of referendum on that, in terms of is Tom Cruise still a movie star? Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, and then in a way it kind of loops back to the Ray Liotta, which is it even still possible to have a breakout performance the way you had that? Like, do we still have even star-making moments where, like a risky business with the Tom Cruise saying, like, who's that kid? Put him in everything. He's magical. Now those seem to be manufactured, and people want those things to happen, and they kind of, shoehorn, like this new Elvis movie seems to want to do that with this kid. I don't know. Maybe he is. I don't know. My mind is open, but that kind of spontaneous star-making turn feels almost like a relic of another age.
That's what I think. As do I feel like a relic of another age. So,
you and me both, man. I'm hanging on by my fingernails, Tony.
Yeah, no, I understand how this works.
Fingernails.
Thank you, Ann. Delightful.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Ann. Ann Horn today, boys and girls. We'll take a break. Jeff Passan will join us. We'll shift gears completely and talk about baseball. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
This is the Tony Kornheiser Show.
This is the Indochino read. Whether you're going to be a groom in a wedding party or a lucky guest, everyone wants to look their best for a wedding. With a custom-fitted suit from Indochino, you will look great, feel confident, and enjoy the big day without fussing over your clothes. You can choose every detail on a suit, a shirt, a dinner jacket, and more at affordable prices that may surprise you for fully custom pieces. Nigel, why don't you talk about your personal involvement with Indochino?
Yes, and I'd like to add another situation where you might want to look great, like a parole hearing for me, is fantastic.
Yeah.
And you get that Indochino suit, you're going to look great. I've got three.
Or standing outside in the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, waiting to get in. You might want to look good.
Yeah, sure.
Because there's a lot of producers looking for talent there.
Exactly. So I got my...
They need to take those people and say, you're both terrible, just get out of my courtroom.
Yes, just leave. Just leave.
Yeah.
You get the suit custom tailored to your dimensions. You can measure yourself with a rope and a yardstick, or you can go to a tailor, and you can design the suit any way you like. There's so many different ways you can tweak it. I, of course, have the Union Jack on the interior of my blazer.
Sure.
So it's just fantastic. It does not cost a lot, and it gets to you very quickly.
Every suit is made to your exact measurements. You can customize every detail, as Nigel said. Create a suit that fits you and your style perfectly, with options for fabrics, lapel shape, custom monogram, statement linings, and more. And the best part is Indochino suits start from just $429. Their shirts from $79. So if you've got a big day coming up, getting the perfect look is no big deal with Indochino. Get $50 off any purchase of $399 or more by using the promo code TONYK at Indochino.com. That's $50 off a purchase of $399 or more at INDOCHINO, Indochino.com. Promo code TONYK. Don't be stupid. Use the code, people.
This is the Tony Kornheiser Show. Tony Kornheiser Show.
Once again, this is Kelly Proctor. who says my songs bring hope and inspiration during dark times, and I hope you and the other fair littles enjoy them. Debut album, Help Me Welcome the Storm by Kelly Proctor Music, will be available on Amazon and iTunes on Tuesday, June 21st. Pre-order is available now, and if that wasn't enough, I also wrote an accompanying book with the same title, Help Me Weather the Storm, available now on Amazon.com. This is called Shine Your Light. You can listen to Kelly Proctor without me interrupting her at the end of the podcast. Michael, if people like Kelly want to send their original music, how do they do so?
Send us your music by emailing it to jingles@TonyKornizersShow.com.
Kelly plays in Jeff Passan. And before we start asking dopey questions about baseball, you won an Emmy, right? You won an Emmy.
I won an Emmy. Yeah, it was really cool, actually. And it was really cool. I'd never been there. The award ceremony is great. My wife and I got away from the kids for 48 hours, which is the best part of it. But the real best part of it was that Drew Robinson, who was the subject of the story, who in his life has been through just an unbelievable number of things, not the least of which was one of the focuses of the piece, which was on April 16th, 2020, when he tried to take his life, shot himself in the head, and wound up living. Drew was there and witnessed the whole thing, watched it, and Martin Kodabashian, who's the brilliant producer and director of the documentary we did, Martin thought it would be a really good idea to allow Drew to take the Emmy trophy home with him. So the entire night was just fantastically memorable, but the fact that Drew was there to see it all and gets a little piece of this, of which he was the enormous piece, that was the best part of it, certainly.
That's great. So you went. I've never been. We got beat again. We've been nominated a lot, and we've been beaten most of the time. But we got a few. But I've never been. I've never been there. So did you get to?
Well, right. The reason you don't have to go is because you know you're going to be nominated every year because your show is fantastic. I have no idea if I'm ever going to be nominated for this again. None whatsoever. This I may be like a one and done so clearly that I go to Kentucky. I mean, it could be one of those situations, and so I figured, hey, why the hell not? And you know what? My dear parents were kind enough to come to town and take a look after the kids, and I had a great meal in New York, and I got a massage with my wife. Like, the whole thing was just very, very necessary. Very necessary.
Good for you. Good for you. Let's start with some baseball questions. My son Michael showed me something today that baseball is appalled and changing rules at the way women are treated within the organizations of baseball. Can you tell us what that's about?
So, probably about 48 hours ago, a source reaches out to me and says, hey, check this out. And it's a memo from Major League Baseball, Michael Hill, who's the Senior Vice President of On-Field Operations. So Mike Hill writes this memo, and normally memos from Major League Baseball are just boring, straightforward. This thing is a heater. This is him in the second, I believe, paragraph of the memo, laying out the systematic reasons why Major League Baseball is completely screwing up and doing disservices to women. And it says very plainly, if we don't treat women better, if we don't give them equal facilities at the ballpark, something as simple as, hey, here's a bathroom that you can use. This is in our rules and regulations, and you, the club, have to provide it to the home team and to the road team that has women in their traveling parties, or even if they don't have women in their traveling party. And if you don't, you're going to continue this problem we have where not only can we not recruit women who think they should be part of this great game, but we won't be able to retain them either. And it was a stunning admission, frankly, from the league, sending it out to the teams and castigating them for, in many cases, having substandard facilities for women. And you may ask, well, why do they need facilities for women in the first place? There's a single woman who's a coach on a major league staff, Alyssa Nakin, with the San Francisco Giants. Well, it's not just on-field staff that's traveling with the club anymore. It is trainers and massage therapists and analysts and, half dozen to a dozen other jobs where more and more you see women being part of Major League Baseball. And if you go to the minor leagues, Tony, there are more than a half dozen women in on-field roles. So, just as everything else in baseball, if something's happening in abundance in the minor leagues, you're pretty damn sure to see it in the major leagues within the next couple of years. So I think Major League Baseball is trying to be proactive, trying to be thoughtful, and it is. It is.
Good for them.
And listen, this is sports. The presence of misogyny in every corner of this fetid world enjoys showing itself. And yet the idea that a league itself would go after its members and say, you're not doing good enough, struck me as a really noble thing and something that gives me hope that the acceptance of women around baseball playing an enormous role, which, by the way, they already do with Kim Ng running the Miami Marlins, and with Rachel Balkovic managing the Tampa Tarpons, the Yankees Class A organization, and with dozens of others who really believe that their careers are going to be in Major League Baseball, and all they need is the support of the institution to back them. Well, they got that support with this letter.
Good. That's good. Let me get to something else. A small thing. I'm sure it's a small thing. The suspension for one game by Josh Donaldson with Tim Anderson and all of that. Was that necessary? Are you satisfied that, in fact, Josh Donaldson deserved that suspension and that, in fact, his announced jocular relationship with Anderson over this particular issue of Anderson saying, I guess I have to be the next or today's Jackie Robinson. Are you satisfied this is the right outcome?
Frankly, I thought it was a little bit light and perfunctory.
Okay.
I don't know that Josh Donaldson should go out there and be suspended for a half dozen games or for more than that. But I found his excuse to be trite and frankly ignorant. Now, should one be suspended for ignorance? There's a fair argument to be made that no, he shouldn't have, because he said something stupid, and we say stupid things all the time, and our stupidity quite rarely leads to discipline and consequences. But maybe that's the point here. It's that the necessary sensitivity to have a better world, to have a better game, there's a high threshold for it. And the recognition of what you're doing and asking yourself that question at all times is paramount to the whole thing. I just see Tim Anderson's reaction and response and can understand it completely, because he's not friends with Josh Donaldson. He's never been friends. And any of us who have been called names before by people who we think are bullies or by people who we don't like, the first instinct is just to ignore, right? And my feel on the situation is Tim Anderson had been doing that for a while. He'd just been trying to ignore him, and you ignore and you ignore and you ignore. But at some point, it becomes really difficult to ignore when you hear something that just grinds at you. And when you hear it from a person whom you don't feel is entitled to say it to you. because you don't have a friendship with him. You don't have a relationship with him. There is no comfort level with him. And when it's something like this with a person who, in not just in the game of baseball, but particularly in the black community, is beloved, as revered, as important as Jackie Robinson, did Tim Anderson put himself in a position to allow himself to get needled by somebody who he doesn't like because, in a way, he feels like he's carrying on Jackie Robinson's legacy? No, I don't think so. But I hope that people in baseball, the players in particular, don't see this as unnecessary or an overreaction by the league, but the continuation, hopefully, of better understanding of what our world is and what it should be.
I will say that the Chicago White Sox players all coalesced around Anderson very, very quickly. Gave me the sense that Donaldson's a bench jockey and nobody particularly likes him. In fact, Chicago players said nobody particularly likes him. But I'll move on. I'll move on off that. We're a quarter of the way through the season, amazingly.
Right.
We're just talking, my son and I were just talking before we went on the air about how good the National League West is. That the last place team in the National League West would be in second place in the National League East, the last place team. And what has surprised you a little or a lot, and who needs to get kick-started real quick?
It surprises me that the Yankees are this good. They've played a pretty weak schedule, but I'm sorry, 32-13 is 32-13, and they're beating the teams that they should beat and that they have to beat. The Angels and Twins have almost identical records, Tony, and there was the sense that both of them could be good. I don't think anyone, and certainly I did not think they were good enough to be playing 600 baseball. In the National League, the Mets are very similar to the Yankees in that, thought they were going to be fine, did not think they were going to be 7.5 games up as we get toward the end of May, particularly with Jacob deGrom not having thrown a pitch yet and Max Scherzer on the shelf for what looks like a couple of months. And then in the West, I mean, the fact that the Arizona Diamondbacks are even 500 at this point is absurd. You look at that roster, that's not a 500 team on paper, and yet here they are in what's been the toughest division in baseball, with the Padres, nipping at the heels of the Dodgers at the top without Fernando Tatis Jr. having played yet. That is going to be an absolute rock fight as the whole season goes on. And I think this anticipation that we had about the Dodgers and Padres being these great rivals after the 2020 season did not materialize last year, but is going to this year.
You mentioned Scherzer. Anytime anyone mentions Scherzer, of course, I think of Scherzer and Strasburg. Strasburg is apparently beginning his minor league rehab and threw 3 innings the other night, 61 pitches, I think I read in Barry's Verluga's piece. Any sense of Strasburg and when and if he'll get back?
He'll be back. We don't know what he's going to be, though. He's 33 years old now. I think he threw 5 games last season. I think he threw 2 games the year before. So we're looking at 7 games started since the World Series win, since COVID. It's a lot to come back from. But there have been enough cases, Tony, where pitchers have come back from long amounts of time off and been really good still, that the only question for me with Strasburg is he healthy? Because if he's healthy, the stuff should be there. And if the stuff's there, he's got the mentality for it to play. That's one thing that I don't think at this point anyone can question about Steven Strasburg. If he is healthy, he's going to be pretty darn good, and he's going to compete his ass off. And that goes a long way when you've got the natural raw talent that he does. Will he be the Strasburg that we saw in 19? And who knows? I mean,
he's never healthy, Jeff. He's never healthy.
I know.
He's never healthy.
I understand, but he was healthy enough in 2019, Tony. They don't have the ring without him.
They don't have the ring without Corbin. They don't have the ring without the starters going into the bullpen and producing. They don't have those rings. Yeah. And since then, Corbin just won his first game of the year last night. It was May 28th or whatever it is, and Strasburg hasn't shown up. And some people will make the case that they were hurt. They were physically hurt from what they were asked to do and what they in fact did to win a World Series. Would you make that case?
Maybe. Maybe. I just, I don't know if we ever will be able to say that this is causative as opposed to correlated.
Right.
But I think the real response is flags fly forever.
Yeah. Yeah. Even when people leave and go to the Dodgers, even when they leave, the flag still flies. Jeff, much congratulations on the Emmy. Thank you. We'll have you back soon, I hope.
Look forward to it, Tom. Thanks for having me.
Jeff Passan, boys and girls. We will take a break. We will have email and jingle when we return. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
You're listening to the Tony Kornheiser Show. The Tony Kornheiser Show.
It's not just that he plays all the instruments. He's an emergency room doctor.
Yes.
He's an emergency room doctor. Ian Warrington. Fantastic. You want to do the Bethesda Bagel ad?
Yes, thank you.
Sandwiches today.
The bagel sandwich is a great way to end the week.
Thanks.
Going into the weekend, yes. We go to Bethesda Bagels. All you need to do is go to BethesdaBagels.com for the location nearest you, then pop on in, and you'll be thrilled.
Dad can't contain his excitement.
Very happy about that.
He's been giving you looks all week.
That's about it for us today. Before we get to the mailbag, let me just say the night was clear and the moon was yellow and the leaves came tumbling down. I was standing on the corner when I heard, it's actually my bulldog, but it's written in here, old Chessie bark. She was barking at two men who were gambling in the dark. That's Lloyd Price.
Yes.
That's Stagger Lee. Thanks to our guests today, Ann Hornaday, Jeff Passan. Thanks to today's sponsors, ZipRecruiter and Indochino. Remember, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and Odyssey. If you got the show through Apple Podcasts, please leave us a review. We have this from Michael Limerick. It's long, but I want to read it. As a business litigator by trade, it's refreshing to accept the occasional pro bono appointment from our federal court. These cases usually involve claims that a prisoner has been deprived of civil rights. When most of your work involves moving piles of money from one company to another, cases like these can help cleanse the soul. An added benefit to these cases is you have to get out of the office to meet your client, and that usually involves a road trip. Prison facilities tend to be located in, shall we say, some out-of-the-way places in our state. So it was on May 17th when I ventured from Indianapolis to the Westville Correctional Facility in northern Indiana. It's about a 3-hour drive, not much in Westville, but farmland and a prison. But hey, it was a nice day. I had some TK shows to catch up on. Even better, depending on which route you take to Westville, you can pass through Maryville, Indiana. Does it take longer to go up I-65 all the way to Maryville before heading east instead of taking the earlier exit at Lafayette? Sure. But why would you do that when Merrillville, not Maryville, Merrillville has the Albany's Candy Factory and Outlet Store? The outside doesn't look like much. See the attached picture, and it doesn't look like much. But just wait till you get inside. Prepackaged gummy bears don't do it for you. Well, step on over to the wall-to-wall bins of gummy candies, my friend. Bears, worms, rings, standard flavors, sweet and sour. The only thing they don't seem to have is a gummy Venus de Milo. For me, it was a package of gummy goof-ups. $8 for a 5-pound bag of perfectly good gummies whose only fault was that they came out of the machine a little misshapen. During this trip, I got to listen to your May 13th interview of Abby Lowell. Sure, he's a smart guy who can explain permissible time, place, and manner restrictions on speech. But did he get factory fresh Albany's gummy bears the last time he went out to see a client? I don't think so. Mike Limerick. There it is. Michael is showing the picture now.
Yes,
like
the picture of the Albany's factory sent from Rob Colpian.
Bill Isaacson writes, sure, the birthday parties for young kids were cute, but I have to warn Michael. Darker days lie ahead. After my son Chris hit college age, my wife and I found ourselves watching Chris at open mic nights at places in Washington, D.C., such as where Nigel might have started. Chris told one such audience, my goal in life is to have sex based on themes of my childhood parties. Pirate sex, dinosaur sex. Then Chris waved from the stage and said, hi, Mom, hi, Dad. All I can say, Michael, is this. Good luck with teenagers and stories about the great zucchini.
God. Makes you long for the Nigel's comedic bit about potty training.
Ken Williams in
Nice
Birmingham,
job, buddy.
Alabama.
You could do it.
My parents had a problem with deer eating all of their tomatoes. They installed a motion-activated sprinkler, and now the deer feast off the neighbor's tomatoes. Just don't forget to turn it off before you go outside. From Mike in Kalispell, Montana. Been a fan through marriage of the lady I live with and 2 non-masculine children. Sorry I didn't make the Christmas card list on our wedding 2010. I have a hard time picking a favorite pharmacist, as both my parents and my brother are pharmacists, so is my uncle. Well, I guess I am a pharmacist also, so hopefully there's a little who thinks Mike the pharmacist at Big Sky Family Medicine is a favorite pharmacist. Thanks, I'll hang up and listen. From Jason Welsh in Dunedin or Dunedin, Florida. I'm 56 years old. I just bought my first wheelbarrow. It's red. What prompts a 56-year-old man to spend his whole life not needing a wheelbarrow?
Not sure with that one.
From Zach Robinson in Longmont, Colorado. I've been sitting here racking my brain trying to think if I ever sat behind somebody famous on an airplane. For the longest time, I thought I never had, but then the memory came flooding back like a Kevin Sheehan weather forecast. Around 2006 or so, I was working in the commercial food service industry and had traveled from Michigan to Baltimore for a trade show. Lo and behold, on my flight back to Detroit, one of the featured speakers at that trade show was on my flight. I was perplexed because, number one, people kept coming up to talk to the person during the flight and a baggage claim telling stories about how much weight they had lost recently. And number two, why was this person flying into Detroit as a destination? The person in question was none other than the now disgraced Subway sandwich pitchman himself, Jared Fogle. Little did I know then what would become of Mr. Fogle. As I was typing this out, I realized how pathetic this is my only famous person on an airplane story, and I clearly need to get out more. Hopefully next time it won't be someone that ends up serving 15 years in a federal prison. Alan, A-L-A-I-N, Alan, Oakland, California. About 10 years ago, my wife and I were on a red-eye from San Francisco to New York. We'd upgraded to the business class row. We were sharing the row with an older black gentleman sitting on the aisle that we soon realized was Danny Glover. Very cool, but my wife had somehow gotten me to agree to the middle seat so she could be on the window. So there I am, all 6'3", 240 pounds, having to squeeze in between my wife and Mr. Glover, both of us watching baseball on our little screens while having a bit of an elbow war for the armrest between us. So having imbibed a few margaritas prior to the boarding, I knock out for a while. When I wake up several hours later, Mr. Glover is gone, and I find my wife glaring at me. I ask what happened. She proceeds to tell me that about an hour earlier she had woken up and seeing Mr. Glover was not in his seat. She decided to go to the bathroom. On her way to the back, she gets a tug on her blouse, looks down, and there's Mr. Glover now sitting in the Gen Pop area of the plane. He motions for her to come closer and says, "There's no way 2 big black men should be sitting next to each other on a red eye. Why'd you make your man do that?" All the while chuckling under his breath. Guess when I was sleeping, I got a bit too comfy and leaning all over the side of the armrest. When we got to JFK, we were at the baggage claim. My wife and I see him, and I was going to go up and apologize to him and tell him how much I loved him in Predator 2. But he saw me coming, gave me a head nod, and walked off in the other direction. Since then, when we fly, my wife takes the middle seat. From Dan Newbert, Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. Is Mount Pleasant near?
No, I think
Oakland?
that's pretty far north.
Okay. All right. I wonder how many littles rejoiced last week when you mentioned the new game, famous people you've sat next to on a flight. I said out loud while walking the dog, "I can play." Many years ago, I traveled a lot for work and would frequently be upgraded to first class. On one occasion, I sat down, and who's right next to me? Frank DeFord. I was watching Real Sports on HBO at the time and was a fan. Sitting next to him, I was so nervous I could barely look his way, let alone start a conversation, and probably missed the opportunity to hear a great story. I will say with all due respect to Mr. DeFord, he drank like the world was coming to an end or he had a hollow leg or both. Finally, I'm in the middle of a kitchen renovation, and I'll update the team on the number of outlets when it's completed. Frank DeFord is an idol of mine. When I was young, coming up, and I read Sports Illustrated all the time, Frank DeFord, Curry Kirkpatrick, and Dan Jenkins were the people I wanted to know and I wanted to be like. And I knew them all, and know Curry, who's the last remaining of them, and have been with them. Frank DeFord once went into the basement of a previous house of mine, and Frank was about 6'5", so his head was smashing against the basement ceiling, and offered me a job. He offered me a job to work at a newspaper that was coming out called The National. A lot of people went to work at The National. Mike Lupica went to work there. John Jr. Feinstein went to work there. A lot of people went to work there. I did not. I stayed at the Washington Post, and I'm very grateful for having stayed at the Washington Post and every turn that my career took. But to have Frank DeFord sit in front of me and offer me a job and tell me my writing was good, I mean, you got to understand how great a writer Frank DeFord was. For him to tell me my writing was good and was worthy of him coming to the house and offering me a job is just about as great a thrill as I've ever had in my life. If you're out on your bike tonight, everyone, as always, do wear white.
Right after I got here, I ordered some spaghetti with marinara sauce, and I got egg noodles and ketchup. I'm an average nobody. Get to live the rest of my life like a schnook.
All right, that's it for the Friday, May 27th episode of the Tony Kornheiser Show. We are now going to transition to the Sharp and Benning Show based out of Omaha, Nebraska. Also from Friday, May 27th. A lot of Nebraska stuff, but also a lot of nationwide stuff. Here we go.
For Teravainen spins away from Fox. Back up top is D'Angelo. To Jarvis. Jarvis all the way across. Now score! Teravainen on the power play. What a setup! Jarvis, Teravainen, back of the net.
As the phone falls down.
Turnover for Draisaitl inside McDavid. It scores! Connor McDavid has won the Battle of Alberta for Edmonton. 5-4 in overtime.
2-2 pitch from Castellanos, and this ball is drilled to right field. Heading back to the wall, it is gone. A home run, a 3-run shot for Freddie Freeman. And the Dodgers lead it 6-0.
Here's the 0-1, and Urias, a high fly ball, deep left center field. Racing back is Bader onto the warning track. He looks up, and it is gone for Luis Urias. Urias with his 4th blast of the year, and the Brewers take an early 1-0 lead.
Here's the 3-2 again. Fastball cracked to center field. Trout heading back to the wall, to the track. It's gone. A Springer dinger to start the game, and the Jays lead 1-0.
Draymond Green finds Thompson. Back to Draymond. Bounce pass inside to Wiggins. 4 to shoot. Spins off the glass. Over Kleba. Up and in for Wiggins.
That was a much tougher shot than it appeared.
The crowd started to raise the roof here at Chase. After 2 years of uncertainty and injuries, the Golden State Warriors have put the splash back in the finals. Final score, Warriors 120, Dallas 110. The Warriors win the West, 4-1. And get ready for the Eastern Conference winner, which could be determined tomorrow night.
You could have just said Boston, as Draymond Green said after the game. Good morning, everybody. Welcome in. This is the Friday, the unofficial start of the summer, Memorial Day weekend. As we come to you on a Friday, final day of the week. Last night, Edmonton, Connor McJesus closed out their NHL semifinal, and the Golden State Warriors are going to the NBA Finals for the 6th time in 8 years. And good morning to all of those that are still stumbling around downtown Omaha after the Big Ten baseball tournament ended at, we are almost on 4 hours ago. If you stayed up the end of the Big Ten opening day of the tournament, remember there was no rain yesterday, there were no rain delays, but the final pitch between Michigan and Illinois, the final out occurred at 2:16 this morning. The game started at 10:54 last night. 2:16 this morning, Michigan beat Illinois.
Did I see that was history? As in what Kevin Kugler tweeted, that was the latest that the game's ever been played there?
I would imagine so. I can't imagine there's been a game that's ever started that late.
Yeah.
But again, no rain delays yesterday, and the final pitch was at 2:16 this morning in the opening day of the Big Ten tournament. But guess what? You get to come back and you play at 9 a.m. today because Iowa, who laid an egg yesterday, is in an elimination game against Purdue. Welcome into Sharp Betting in the morning. Busy morning for you as we wrap up the weekend sports. We'll discuss what happened last night at Golden State. Of course, yesterday, all of our in-depth discussion about what we could do at 6 a.m. to celebrate and get ready for Nebraska at Northwestern completely went out the window when Dublin made a quick turn right or left and said, no, we will make this game a later afternoon game in Dublin, and it's going to be an early morning, kind of mid-morning kickoff here in Nebraska.
Absolutely.
Start times were announced yesterday. Plus, we have 2 tabletop grills to give away. as part of the unofficial start of the summer, where this show should be like on the beach, or it should be on the lake. We should be having a party right now with a party house with people that are all around us that have been drinking since 5 a.m. or kept drinking last night during the Big Ten game and then rolled in. Let me give you the lineup for the show, brought to you by the Rooferees and John Higgins Weather Guard. Mike Sauter's going to join us a little bit later. Matt Verzal will stop by, and we will get to the latest in the NBA as we are a game away from the NBA Finals being set. Would not start until a week. Sean Devaney will stop by as Miami and Boston play Game 6 tonight in Boston. And I don't know how that's going to go the way of the Heat. So that is the lineup brought to you by John Higgins Weather Guard. Rooferees. Good morning.
What up?
How you doing?
Good.
Oh boy. Did you get off to did you have traffic issues?
No. The gas station that I usually go to, it said that these pumps have been stopped. So I don't know what that means except for on the next gas station.
Were you going to, there was a place here in town that...
no, that's right by my house.
Okay.
That's,
that had a shutdown because they had bad gas?
Yeah. Which is crazy because there are times I contemplate stopping at the gas station because they have a Baker's. You can use your Baker's card there. But my Hy-Vee points were rolling, so I haven't been going there as much lately. But yeah, we had like half gas, half water. I don't even know how people do that. Right? Like, I guess you don't have to meet some sort of spec or code. I don't know enough about how it works.
Well, sometimes they would shut down pumps if there was a fire, if there was a leak, or if there was like damaged equipment.
So what does that have to do with half and half water?
Well, you said that the pumps were stopped and you didn't...
you're talking about where I was originally? Yeah, I don't know what was going on. You know, sometimes there's too many yellow bags too. I don't know, man. Maybe it's a little too off-brand. Maybe I need to do something different.
I got a bougie vehicle. You got to have premium gas in that thing, or you're going to be stopped in the middle of the road.
Not premium at all. Pretty 87-ish.
I think I'm an 80. I think I'm an 85er.
Pretty 87.
Shane is a premium gas guy.
Which is weird because he has the oldest car of the bunch.
Yeah, no kidding.
But
he's got a sports car.
I think
he's got to be able to keep it
you're
to
afraid,
40 miles an hour on
You're afraid
Dodge.
to go backwards, right, Shane? Because you've
says,
done it for so long?
Well, it says that you're supposed to do that. I mean, in the book...
A lot of books say that.
Do you read the book?
Did
you read the manual to your truck?
And a lot of people don't.
A lot of people don't read the manual to their truck.
Because usually, I don't know when your car is from, maybe it's from the 60s, but like when you open your gas tank, it pretty much tells you right there, you don't have to touch the manual. But that's just for us folks living in 2022. I don't know where you're at. Maybe you needed a manual. Maybe they didn't put stickers in your gas tank back then, but typically when you open it, it's dab smack right there in the middle of your dome.
Gene, do you have a gas tank that you actually have to have a separate key?
No. That'd be great, though.
I vaguely recall growing up that my parents had a vehicle where...
Don't most people have their gas labeled in their tank? Who reads the book to see which gas to put in?
You should read the book anyway. I mean, it'd give you tips on a lot of different things.
On how to fix your own rust spots.
And what's the internet for?
What's that do?
You can Google it. You can do that. You can definitely do that.
Read that.
Books are.
So you're putting premium gas.
I'm putting
premium gas in your car that's 22 years old.
It's not 22 years old, Dave. It's 10 years old. It says put premium in the car, so I put premium in the car.
Yeah. Mom told you to eat your veggies too. What happened?
I eat my veggies.
All right.
My fruit.
I thought you might be coming from the late night game downtown. We got 4 down to the Big Ten tournament. We got 11 to go, everybody. 11 to go. Just stick with us.
Yeah, we were. What I said? You said. I think I said 9. Did I say 9:30? I thought it would start 9:20. Wow, not even within an hour. 30 minutes.
Yeah, 10:54. No rain delays. They've got
it's all Maryland and Indiana. They were doing just fine.
As college baseball knows well, they have a pace of play issue as the games just drag.
I didn't get that since the first couple of games.
That late game, that just dragged.
The late game? So
yes.
The one after all the delays?
Well, they didn't have any delays. No rain delays.
That's my
Yeah.
my point.
Yeah.
Like the first couple of games, I didn't get the sense that they were. Did you get the sense it was dragging?
Yes. Just the pace of play is an issue across college baseball. And then you throw in, because you already are dealing with games on television that give you the extra, not to the length of the College World Series television commercials, but they still give you extra inventory with television commercials.
But until Maryland and Indiana went late, we were well on schedule.
Yes,
Right.
but I don't focus on the game time. Just like the pace of play, how we play the game when we pitch, when we get into the box, when we do all of those kind of things. But at
I think it has a lot to do with pitchers wearing wristbands now. More, we used to not even be able to do that. Now you just, whatever it is that you get the call, you go ahead and look at the old wristband. Some guys like to take their hat off and look at the index card that's in the front. I don't know.
But 2:16 this morning was the end of the day one of the Big Ten baseball tournament. We should just play round the clock. They should just complete it at 2:16. 40 minutes later, we're going. And at 3 in the morning, we have baseball downtown. But instead, they're going to wait until 9. And Iowa, who laid a clunker yesterday, has to win essentially 5 games in 3 days.
Yeah, I wonder.
To get into the NCAA tournament.
The little miscommunication in the Alpha ended up costing playing a ball in the air. But man, those ended up scoring 3 runs. That was the difference.
What do you think if you are a neutral fan today? Because there were, thanks to the Iowa fans that showed up, there was black and gold. They helped with the attendance. You've got Iowa and Purdue playing for an elimination game here in about 3 hours.
Yeah.
The local rooting interest will be for
Iowa. This is your chance, Nebraska fans, to, and everybody was super in their feelings. I'm going to root against Purdue. Now they actually have their chance. You can show up and give your hard-earned money and root against Purdue.
That is coming up at 9 a.m. as Iowa put themselves in
Found
a
way
serious
to leave
hole.
Way too many people on base. Boy, they're going to be kicking themselves. Yesterday against Rutgers. Ooh, you had your chances.
Rutgers and Maryland stay alive, so those are the 2 most likely teams out of this conference to make the NCAA tournament. Maryland more than Rutgers, and then Michigan pulls off an upset late. So tournament is back. It begins at 9 a.m. This morning. I got an email from a guy yesterday in the Equitable Bank inbox who I don't think, just judging by the tenor of his email, that he's not from here. He was wondering why the street around TD Ameritrade is tore up. He basically kind of like sarcastic but real. It's like, did the city of Omaha not know that there was going to be a baseball tournament going on outside of that ballpark? So I guess Cumming Street. I've not been on that side of the ballpark. I guess Cumming Street is torn up.
Timing is everything.
Well, you got to understand. Big Ten, you are the JV tournament before the varsity tournament. I mean, we got to work out the kinks before the varsity comes to play. That's what you do with JV. You make sure the scoreboard works. You make sure the popcorn pops. The concession stand is wide open. The pop is flowing. You fix your streets outside because in a couple of weeks the varsity is here. Right? That's the reality.
Timing.
All right, we have a busy show because a lot going on. Of course, last night in the NBA, we have a NBA finalist. Nebraska football has some start times, baby, as we count down to the Guaranteed Rate Bowl in Phoenix between Nebraska and Kansas State. December 27th, book your tickets. That's going to be the matchup. And I saw the start time and the network yesterday. You know what? Yesterday was kind of a fun day because I want college football to be a year-round sport. And even in the month of May, when you drop, or late May, when you drop scheduling, you can feel that it can be a year-round sport. But a Guaranteed Rate Bowl, put it on the board, December 27th, Nebraska and Kansas State. There may be a storyline or two in that game. But start time's released, and Nebraska made an offer to Kate McIntyre yesterday. Barrett Root dialed the phone, called him up, said, we reevaluated. We kind of misjudged early. Here you go. Here's an offer from Nebraska.
They were split from the jump, so I wonder what the meeting of the minds were like. There were a couple guys that really liked it. Maybe a little pressure. Volunteer the scholarship offer, and it's like, yeah, that may be enough to push us over.
I don't know. There's 2 guys that one got an offer, the other did not, that performed in your stadium in November and played pretty well. One for Breton and one for Fremont Bergen.
Oh, yeah.
I think that would be enough. But we discussed it last week, and we kind of touched on it yesterday, but we'll get more into that. You're always welcome to join the show on a Friday morning. It's the unofficial start of the summer. It'll be busy travel. People are going to be out and about. The weather's going to be fantastic. It's going to be one of the top 10 Bill Ranby days today. Sunny and 79. Nice day to get on the boat, the course.
The boat?
Yeah. You need to find a friend that has a boat that can take us out after the show. We can go on the Platte. We can go on the Missouri.
Oh, Mike is out at noon, so that's out. Got plans.
You going on a boat with your kid?
No, he's got to get home. Can't take an Uber.
It's right, the last day. Everybody's out today, right? All the schools are out?
Yep.
So, enjoy summer.
I think they're out there. District 66 may have been last. They're today.
All right. It is going to be a big weekend. 951-1620, you're always welcome to join the conversation. You can email us into the Equitable Bank inbox, Gary or Damon at 1620thezone.com, or on the J-Tech Construction Zone Twitter feed at Gary Sharp 1620 at David Benning. Plus, don't forget, we have 2 tabletop grills to give away today. Not just one opportunity to guess what is Damon's meat, but you will have 2 opportunities today to walk away with a tabletop grill courtesy of 1620 The Zone and Sharp Betting in the morning.
I think we've made an audible. Since it's so cloudy up here in Newfoundland and Labrador, we are going to head northeast. We're not going to go to St. John's. I think where we'll try to aim for, let's pull up my map here. I think we're going to try to get in the St. Anthony range and northeast of the Long Range Mountains. And that should be still Labrador and Newfoundland, I believe. We're going to pass over Gross Mourne National Park and land either around Plum Point or St. Anthony near the Strait of Belle Isle. As we get closer to, well, it'll still be the Labrador portion of Newfoundland and Labrador, I think. But we're going to make our way up the coast of Newfoundland after that as we get closer to Baffin Island. And from Baffin Island, we're going to head over to Greenland and make our way to Iceland. Then head down to the UK, basically Scotland. But that's a long way in the future. For right now, we are going to try to aim for kind of the northern tip of, I believe it's Labrador. So that's where we're heading. I'm going to play segment 2 of the Sharp and Benning show now.
All right, so 2 years ago, Dubs were last. And now they're in the NBA Finals. I get why Draymond Green said after the game that nobody believed in us. Absolutely nobody believed in us. I mean, why would you? I mean, look, they got Curry, they got Thompson, they got Poole, they got Wiggins, they got Green. I can understand that. He said that after the game. I don't know if he said it in jest or not, but they are into the NBA Finals for the 6th time in the last 8 years, and they got Game 6 Clay last night, who had struggled, and he is, still coming back from his back-to-back knee injuries. But when he's shooting the ball like he did last night in the first half, I don't know who has much of a shot when the rest of that crew is going.
It'll be obviously a handful. I mean, I kind of got what he was saying. I think they only had like the 4th or 5th best odds coming out of the West. And everybody said, well, if they're healthy. And maybe that's enough for a team like that. But you think when you have that core of good players, I don't know if they saw Jordan Poole coming. I don't know if they saw, Porter being clutch when he was playing. I mean, Wiggins was progressively getting better for them, but they had some questions. So I think for him, when you've won that much, who knows what they're using for motivation? But I think most people had them 4th or 5th in the West, and that was just the West. So, I mean, I get it, but Fudge, anytime you have that big three, you're going to give yourself a chance to win. And now they got depth. I mean, they played 9 guys, not even bad night yet.
When you have Looney that grabs nearly 20 rebounds in a closeout game.
Yeah, you usually don't talk development in NBA teams, but Golden State might be one of the best developmental basketball teams in professional sports. Like, their guys get better. It's one of those places that if you go to, you're going to leave better than you got there. Doesn't matter who you are. That culture is a real thing. That culture is definitely a real thing.
And you have a head coach who threw numerous defensive schemes at Dallas, and they could not adjust. And Luka, I mean, he looked like he had run out of gas. And, the rest of the crew with him couldn't keep up, really, in the entire series. But Golden State, you watch them play,
sometimes he just looks like he's laboring.
When Golden State had the whole crew back together, and they played Phoenix on Christmas, that was an impressive effort. I thought, man, if they are healthy and they have no hiccups along the way, they're going to be a tough out. It's going to be them and Phoenix. Of all of the guys, and last night, Klay Thompson hits 8 threes, and you could tell that he's feeling it, and he's still returning. So that was Game 6 Klay playing in Game 5. The one guy on that roster that sometimes you just take for granted, and then he hits a shot in the corner, and you're reminded, the stability that you have Steph Curry. Steph Curry doesn't go through those major roller coaster moments. He's usually pretty stable. Now, he's going to give you the wow moment a few times a game, but he'll disappear, and then he'll pop up at a key moment. I mean, that's just such a nice luxury to have on that team with so many different options, is that your number one option is so stable.
Yeah, and now he's a conference MVP. So, I mean, this guy's pretty good, future HOF, and he's done it his way. A little unconventional, a little small, allegedly not very athletic. Although his finishing stats around the rim for his size are extraordinary. I mean, between he and Kyrie, but I'll tell you, when there's definitely something to Golden State's culture. It is a real thing. Real thing.
And more like they're going to play Boston in the final, because the Heat look like they have run out of options and run out of gas, and they're playing a really good basketball team, which hopefully Boston and Golden State in the final will set up as a magical, fingers crossed, 7-game series. I think there are some things that Boston has defensively in terms of length and rim protectors that could cause some issues with Golden State. But if we get Golden State Boston, I'm good.
Yeah. I mean, maybe with Robert Williams, I'd like the matchup for Golden State offensively. If as good as Boston is, Robert Williams will be the X factor, I think, for them, and how Golden State, if that's the matchup, combats it with Looney and what happens in that front court. Because they can get Robert Williams to play away from the rim, which is going to be interesting because, Bam Adebayo doesn't give them that wrinkle. So I'll be curious to see how they use interchangeable between Grant Williams and Robert Williams.
Can't believe that really looks like that.
Because it's not ideal for Robert Williams to be spending an inordinate amount of time with Draymond Green. So the Looney Green thing is going to be real. It's going to be a nice little cat and mouse.
Hopefully that's the series that saves the NBA postseason. That gives us exciting games, because in the Boston-Miami series, which could be over tonight, that series has been a drag. We've had 5 games, and over 5 games we've had 8 lead changes, and half of them were in the last game. And it just hasn't been. But you're telling me that we go through all of this stuff in the postseason to get to Boston Golden State? I'll sign up for it.
Yeah.
The unfortunate thing about last night, Golden State winning, is that's the end of Ernie, Shaq, Kenny, and Barkley. And there were moments last night, I think he was kind of having fun, a little bit.
I don't know.
Could have been the end of Charles Barkley, who, went after the city of San Francisco when he was forced to go back to San Francisco for Game 5.
Well, what were they throwing at him?
Well, I saw the one that the person threw a T-shirt.
Somebody threw a bottle.
Well, he was, and the thing, that whole crew, you've got Shaq is egging on people. Keep giving it to Chuck. And there were moments where I think Chuck was good. He was having fun with it. He was playing up, and then it got kind of. I don't know. There was towards the end. I was like, wow, this is he's now kind of crossed it a little bit.
I thought that was getting real.
I mean, not going to go into the crowd and start throwing haymakers.
He stood up though.
But you go on a studio show, you say some things. At least he knows that he's going to get grief for the things he says. Yeah. But when you go after the city and they just won the Western Conference Finals and people are pretty excited, man, that's what live TV is all about. But now we lose the inside the NBA guys. Why can't ABC just switch out crews? Why can't they be the pre, the half, and the post? Or at least give us on TNT a post game.
Probably should run that by Breen and those guys and see what they think.
We can keep Mike Breen, we can keep Mark Jackson, you can keep Van Gundy, but I would like somebody different at the beginning, in the middle, and the end. And maybe Shaq, Kenny, and Charles will hang around and bring back Ernie. Hey, we've seen cross networks before.
Ernie is a funny dude. Boy, you talk about a peacekeeper, and then occasionally you just start chuckling because he's gonna gas that bad boy up. He gets it in. He pokes pretty good fun at Charles. I think, he's the elder statesman and Charles is afraid to bully him, so he kind of just lets Ernie say his thing. But Ernie is funny. He's the glue to that bad boy.
That is the best pre- and post-game show going in sports television today. And quit trying to replicate it, because you can't. Look at last night's a prime example. Everything that was going on, and you have Barkley that is ready to go. He's on vacation. He wants to go home to Arizona. And you got a live crowd. And you got the chemistry of those guys that can egg each other on. And then they can go there, and then they know when to stop. They can take somebody to the edge, and they're like, but they all get along, and they all know, joking at the end of the day, at the end of the show, they're in it for the reason is people watch and they want opinion, but they also want to be entertained. And they entertain them very, very well. And
Are you not entertained?
The thing about the Western Conference Finals is that is over. All right, 6:40. Coming up in the next hour, we'll give away our first tabletop grill. So you have your meat prepared. You said yesterday that you are getting away from the cow.
It's a trap.
For one of them.
Okay.
I could have used a little more cowbell.
Don't you have half a cow ready to go for Memorial Day?
Not half. I only probably have less than half left. I'm probably down to a quarter.
I thought you ordered.
I haven't ordered another one yet. I've had one from probably last year about this time. About a month later, I think I got it in July. And I got less than a quarter left.
All right.
I have a fair amount of ground beef left over at Pisons. I would definitely.
Oh, you're using the Pisons cooler.
Yes, I am. That's why he occasionally tries to lock me in there.
To hang out with your meat?
He thinks that's funny.
He's
not all that fun.
He's coming up a little bit later.
Yeah.
All right, 6:41. Sharp and Betting in the morning on 1620 The Zone.
Omaha's most listened to all sports radios.
Target has Laundry Day covered because they offer a great selection of concentrated.
It's quite the chasm there. Probably doesn't actually look like that, but still impressive to see in the game.
How about not?
So the sixth time in 8 years, Golden State is back in the finals. That kind of a run, a little reminiscent of a run to the finals when the Bulls were in the 90s, from 91 to 98, that kind of stretch there. But back in the finals when people thought that they were dead after injuries, Klay Thompson's injury, Kevin Durant leaves, and all of a sudden Golden State's going to play for another championship. 15, 17, 18, 22. That's not a bad little run for Golden State with their cores, especially with their core pretty much intact. Take out Durant and insert, and of late, a healthy Klay Thompson in this run. That's pretty good if you're Golden State.
Is there a disdain for them at all? Kind of like, how the Patriots in their run towards the end there'd be a not maybe towards the end, maybe towards a little bit before the end, that there'd be a disdain. Like people would just get off the bandwagon. People weren't, vibing with the whole Belichick thing and.
When they had Durant, there was a super team. There were people that were triggered. I think this Golden State team, the way they've come back in the last couple of years, I don't think people. I don't get the sense.
So they're being rooted for.
I don't get the sense that people are like upset at Golden State like they were when they had Durant. I think they can appreciate this team because look at you got a Wiggins, you got a Looney, you got guys that have come off the scrap heap or have emerged in their first time to shine in the NBA.
And what is it? It's 6 out of 8, right?
Yep.
He was only there for 3 of them. So, I mean, yeah, a little shame, but we act like I wouldn't even count him as part. I mean, I would, but I wouldn't. He's interesting because he's there. He will have made it to half their finals.
You talking about Durant?
Yeah. So I don't know. Do you include him in the core?
Not really.
I really don't.
Not really. But you know what the message was when he joined? Oh, you're going to a Super Bowl.
Yeah. No, I get that part.
Yeah.
But
no, not in the core.
We act like it was longer than it was. It was only 3 years.
The core is 3.
Yeah.
Thompson, Curry, and Green.
Completely.
And they've been able to add Wiggins through a trade. They add a guy like Poole and Looney, and then they have complementary pieces around them.
Yeah, I mean, you're cheering. It would be hard. This is just me, Shane, but I don't know if people follow the NBA like that. Like, they sent Looney to the G League. Or not Looney, Poole to the G League. Like, he had to go get his game ready. And he comes back and he's NBA player. He's comeback player. He should have been comeback player of the year. Most improved. I remember way before that season started, we were like, man, is this Poole's year? Like, is this Poole's year to be a breakout star? If he is, that would really help Golden State. He answered the dinner bell. But the more I thought about it, and I was just going back to looking at the preseason odds, I'm kind of vibing with. I'm kind of vibing with them a little. I mean, most people had them. It was Brooklyn, the Lakers, Milwaukee. Then there was kind of a little run between Golden State, Phoenix, and Utah. Kind of clumped. So I wouldn't go as far as to say nobody, but there were some that didn't even think they were the best team in the West.
Did they have better odds than Phoenix at the beginning of the year? Or about the same?
About the same.
Just kind of a little bit surprising.
Yeah, because
Thompson wasn't ready to start the year.
And so many people liked Phoenix. It seemed like it seemed like most people that I know liked Phoenix to come out of the West. But, I mean, a little bit of a stretch there with nobody.
But that's okay. I mean,
Clay did, and they've done it without Clay being great.
Oh, no, yeah.
Sometimes even good.
So game 1 through 4 in the first half, he had a combined 18 points. He had 19 last night. And the way he was shooting the 3, that comfortability, that looked familiar. Because you know what we've seen in the playoffs so far. There have been times where he has an open 3, and usually that's money, and it clangs off the rim, or it comes up short. Like, go back to Memphis. Remember the beginning of the Memphis series?
Yeah, well, that Christmas game that you talked about in the first segment against Phoenix, I mean, they started Gary Payton II. So, I mean, I wasn't even like...
Will they get him back at any point in the finals?
Herr thought he was doubtful for the first couple, but I mean, you think he's got to be close.
Yeah, we kind of forgot about him because he began the playoffs, and then he got injured in the Memphis series. And then there's Otto Porter.
Yeah.
Who also got injured.
That Christmas Day game, they started Green, Porter, Looney, Curry, and Payton. I don't think anybody was thinking championship.
How many minutes of that game did Klay Thompson play?
He did.
He didn't?
No. He didn't play at all.
I was watching that game and I thought, man, Golden State cranked up is going to be impressive.
Yeah, I mean, this is just wild when you kind of look at it. And they got it done.
That's a good structure. I think this postseason has also shown us, especially here in the final 4 teams, because you can make a case that 3 of them have maybe three of the top coaches in the NBA. If you think coaching in the NBA, Matt, Kerr and Spoelstra, they've stood alone. Boston's got a guy that, man, don't let that man leave. Udoka is punching all the right buttons and saying all the right things, and he's got Boston in a good spot from where they were when the season began. I mean, they were, talk about Christmas, Boston was done for. At Christmas, Boston was an afterthought. And now, when they win tonight and they beat the Heat, they will be playing in the NBA Finals.
Is one other question: is 3 the magic number for the core number for an NBA team to have a run like this?
Yeah, you need
3 is 3 players or 2 and a coach?
Oh, I think you need 3 players.
3 players.
Yeah. In some way, shape, unless you're Kobe
or Jordan.
Okay. Yeah.
And then you need a running mate.
Well, I think Jordan had 3.
Go Jordan, Pippen,
Rodman. Well, yeah. I think 3's the.
All right, so let me ask you this about Kobe. Kobe in their best stretch. Kobe, Shaq. If you have to give me a third one.
Well, it kind of rotated. I'm going more towards the championship that Kobe won without Shaq. I mean, the next 2 best players were Gasol and Odom. I think Gasol was maybe going about off the top of my head. But, 17, 18 a night, and Odom was like a 13, 14. But that usually doesn't cut it. Those, listen, I like him. I didn't love him, especially then, at the time, Kobe. That will be underappreciated what he did. That was not a great basketball team. I mean, he was getting guys like Bynum and Maximus. They were good.
Where is Omar Bynum?
Good on good. He's chilling. Some plays with Kwame Brown.
And he didn't have Big Shot Bob.
No.
Hello.
I mean, just that. Yeah, that was LeBron, I don't know. I mean, he got there without the 3. Did he win it in Cleveland with the 3?
One for sure. And Kyrie.
Yeah. It's probably the next closest.
I mean, think about Milwaukee last year. Middleton, Holiday, Giannis.
Yeah, and Brook Lopez was pretty good. But again, you're right. That's fringe. Big 3.
Yeah. If you have to stretch to get a third guy in there,
that's fringe.
You have to go find someone.
So you can happen into it not having a third, and if you happen into it, chances are
it can be a rotating third, but you need a third. Definitely.
I'm trying to think now. I'm trying to. In my head, I'm going to college basketball.
What was the Nets' problem? College basketball, you don't need 3. It definitely would help, but you don't need it.
You just need 2 in college basketball,
or stud.
Okay.
I don't know if you're going to see a Carmelo thing again, but he had a back.
You could do it without. You could
really good that people kind of.
You could do it in college without calling it a big 3. It could be a solid 3.
Yeah.
Look at KU. Obaji would be in the 1 seed.
Yeah.
And then you could find 2 very good complementary pieces. And they won a national title. I mean, go back the year before, Baylor.
Yeah, they had multiple. They had their third was rotating. It could have been anybody given night. They had the big 2 in the backcourt.
All right, coming up next hour, we'll talk some football. As again, start times have been set, and Nebraska made an offer yesterday that has elicited quite an interesting comment on the process for Kate McIntyre. We'll dive into all of that and much more. Don't forget Big Ten baseball, which ended just a couple of hours ago. Starts back up at 9. Omaha, which got a huge win yesterday. They knocked off number 1 North Dakota State. They play Oral Roberts tonight at 6. And then Creighton, the rain in Cincinnati. Creighton actually got banged yesterday. UConn got their game in, but Creighton doesn't play until 1:30 today against Xavier. So UConn played yesterday.
Georgetown was wishing they didn't play.
Yep, that was a 4-love. That might be, UConn might be back. That's what they're saying, I think. It's like that they're saying
after one. Yesterday morning it was limping in, can't go to it in the queue. This morning they may be back.
They're back. They're back. They've made up for last weekend when they got swept by Georgetown.
Yeah.
All right, sharp betting in the morning. Plus, in the next hour, we'll give away our first tabletop grill of this holiday weekend show. So we have the extended weekend, no show on Monday. So we're going to blow it out on the start to the unofficial start of summer. With summer like weather, you're going to get tan this weekend.
I probably won't go out much unless I'm cooking.
But you know what we're not going to have? I mean, we will not have NBA basketball on Memorial Day weekend. What are we going to do?
All good in the neighborhood.
I'm Dr. Jack Rusley. I'm often asked why we eat booster doses for
Right face off top. One-timer Bouchard scores, and we are tied. Evan Bouchard, post and in. His third of the playoffs, and Game 5 is dead even.
Back up top is D'Angelo to Jarvis. Jarvis all the way across. No score. Terrified on the power play. What a setup. Jarvis, terrified back to the net. 2-1. Carolina lead.
Wild stat in Carolina Hurricanes in the Stanley Cup playoffs so far. Every game they have played in, the home team has won. They won again last night on their home ice, and they're up 3-2 on the Rangers. There's nothing appealing about the Carolina Hurricanes to watch them for 60 minutes.
At some point, and maybe it'll be Game 7 if the Rangers find a way to get it there, Shesterkin's going to be that guy on the road. Like, they're toying with fire. You'd think he's got it in him for one big-time performance, and first they got to do it at home, but, man, you get into goaltending in a Game 7, Carolina, I don't know, man. Law of averages are playing with fire. Shesterkin was pretty good in the regular season.
Probably win the Vezina.
I mean, you think he's going to find a way to figure it out on the road.
But Carolina's so nondescript for a team that had a really good regular season. They're not appealing.
Well, they're not as high-end, star-studded as some other folks in the playoffs, but they're pretty complete. We've been saying this, and I thought we would get enough of it. Why do we always say with them, yeah, but with Carolina? Because we've been doing this since we started.
Team.
And they just keep winning. We brought it up again with Eddie Garcia. We talked about it when he was previewing the season to start with. It's like we don't want to like Carolina, but, man, they sure do keep winning.
The other highlight that you heard, so Calgary and Edmonton were crazy last night. There were 4 goals in a span of about 71 seconds in that game. I just want people that know hockey, you already know what I'm talking about. People that just want to watch, like, greatness and an individual, and I get it, it's hockey. They play in the West. Their games are on late. Connor McDavid, for what he is doing in this postseason, and he's going to get the bigger stage, so you could have 2 of the greatest players going right now in the NHL, McKinnon for Colorado and McDavid for Edmonton, playing on the same ice. Connor McDavid, who is still really, really young, who he's setting records and getting milestones that the Gretzkys and the Lemieux did. He has been on the ice for 38 goals in the playoffs, in Edmonton's playoffs. First Western Conference final. He ended up with 12 points in this 5-game series. He got the game winner in overtime. He's in a city that loves their hockey, but it's been a long time since Gretzky and Messier and Grant Fuhr were all together. So that's the first time they've been into the conference finals since 2006. But find a way to watch number 97 for Edmonton play. You will not be disappointed. He is an amazing, unreal hockey player who hopefully now into the Final Four will get more attention outside of the hockey world for what he is doing.
Yeah, and you know, the crazy thing is, he's got a teammate that has the exact same stats as he does. You talked about the big 3 in basketball, Shane. I mean, Draisaitl's right there with it. And I guess if you're an Evander Kane fan, it doesn't matter what goes on in the offseason. You find a way to flourish when it counts. And he's made him dangerous.
Why didn't they throw in Nugent Hopkins?
Yeah. Is that 12 for Kane? What he's doing, I'm like, what? You have no idea what is going on. But, I mean, pretty perfect timing.
That stat you had, by the way, Gary, that's a pretty wild stat. That's better than the Avs stat that they have, that they're the last undefeated team on the road in the playoffs. And to make it this far in the playoffs and still be undefeated on the road is pretty impressive. They're on the road tonight, by the way, so just, chalk that up.
You, as the resident Avs fan, are you looking for a closeout?
I would hope so. I mean, it's got to be in this one, or otherwise it's going to be pretty demoralizing, I guess. I mean, it really could be for the players. Hopefully not. I know, they probably don't think about it that way, but it really might be, because the last game felt like a punch in the gut. So I would hope that they can get it done tonight, and just based upon the stat that I said just a little bit ago, that they're still undefeated on the road, take that into account. I think they'll get it done.
I don't know how you can, but you're asking St. Louis to play with 60 minutes of complete desperation again.
Well, what they're gonna do is, and as long as Colorado cannot fall into it, they are gonna play with desperation, and they're gonna try to get you to get into as many fights, get out of your sink. They're really gonna try and throw the game off that way, because they have nothing else left to go to. I mean, they have to. That's what you do in the playoffs. That's what you do when you're down 3-2 and you're on the ropes. Your back is against the wall. Whatever cliche you want to throw there. I mean, that's what a team does. So that's what's going to happen tonight. So really, it just depends upon, the key to the game will be if Colorado if they can just take it and not fall into it, not fall into the fights. You're more important on the ice than you are on the box. So that'll be the key right there to the game. Because
hockey advice from Al Arbor.
What you don't need is St. Louis being on a power play. Because if they get on a power play in this series, they're going to score. That's what they're going to do, and that's what they're going to be striving for tonight.
Huge home underdog. I'd like to see a Game 7. I'm just saying. Game 7 in Colorado.
Yeah, that'd be a tension convention.
That place would be unbelievable.
I think it would be more of a tension, because you went from being up 3-0 with a chance to close out St. Louis, and all of a sudden the series has come back. You're like, okay. And especially where you haven't been able to get out of the second round of the postseason. Yeah, I don't think Colorado would like that scenario to come back. Are we disappointed? Yesterday's start time in Dublin. We spent all day yesterday talking about the fun that we could have. Now we're going to have to readjust. And what kind of a fun are we going to have at 11:30 in the morning? You can't have the same fun at 6:30. 11:30 compared to 6:30 in the morning. How are we going to have the same kind of fun where they did an about face in Dublin and they said, you know what, let's go early evening in Dublin for a football game. Let's give those people in Chicago and Omaha and Lincoln, let's give them a little 11:30 week 0 football.
Yeah. I would have preferred early, but it's whatever.
That is the kick time over in Dublin. This is in the Equitable Bank inbox. This is a good start to our reading of emails today. This is from Fritzy. Thank goodness the Northwestern game is at 11:30. It is necessary for the majority of Nebraska fans, as we need at least 3 hours to prepare for the game by mass consumption of alcohol. How else could you watch the garbage product that has been putting on the field over the past decade? You can't watch that team sober. Fritzy is apparently not reading the national love for Nebraska. There is a moment, though, of the kick times that were announced yesterday, and there are 3 night games, and there could be more night games. There have only been, since Scott's been the head coach, there's only been 9 night games. But I don't know why a television network would not want to, and I know it was the opponent last year, but the magic of a big game at night in Memorial Stadium, like the Michigan game. I mean, that atmosphere was one of the better atmospheres that stadium has had for a long, long time.
Yeah, the game lent itself to that.
But 3 night games already on the schedule, which is not bad. It is, Nebraska. You put Nebraska on TV, people will watch. But we get what we kind of wanted is the Oklahoma game is the big noon kickoff. It is 11 a.m. Some people were jonesing. That would be a great thing to have at night. That would also be a great thing to be played on Black Friday. But that ain't going to happen. We all want things. But the 11 a.m. kickoff.
You'd rather have Oklahoma on Black Friday than Iowa?
Oh, this is the nostalgia part.
Oh, going way back.
No, it never happened. But that would be unique. See, especially like last year on the 50th anniversary, that would have been unique. You would have had to move mountains for that to happen. But that's the nostalgia part. So that game, and I think, hey, Brady Quinn said it's on their radar. I would think now the traveling show for Fox, with Urban Meyer rejoining them, will be in Lincoln for that game.
Yeah, I guess.
Which turns into a big showcase for both programs of, okay, where you at?
Yeah, what's the early season line on that too? Like 4.5 or 5?
4.5 was the first I saw. Yep.
Yeah. I should probably pay more attention to who's coming and who isn't. I'm conditioned. We haven't really fared well. I don't really pay attention to what shows are coming and what isn't. So we've done the game day thing and whoever else comes. I got to get out of that rut where I say, man, just be competitive.
That's the day.
I gotta be a little more optimistic than that.
See, that game sets up, and regardless if it was Fox is making it the marquee game at 11. Like when I'm going through the schedule yesterday, it seems like Fox has put everything into making the 11 a.m. kickoff the biggest thing going. And then what they try and do, because I think this is separate from what ESPN tries to do, Fox says, let's shoot for the moon, let's get the big games that go at 11 o'clock. Not everybody likes the 11 o'clock game, that's a split thing. But Fox says, let's build up 11, and let's try and keep our audience throughout the day. Where, doesn't it appear to you, ESPN does it different? ESPN says, 11 is okay, we like the 2:30, but our kind of day starts at 2:30 where we build you into prime time.
Well, I'll be curious to see what happens without Herbie.
Now, he'll still be on game day.
Kirk, I'm talking about with the broadcast.
Oh, okay.
Right? Because do the pairings and who's doing games really matter for time slots going forward in the future with all this moving and shaking of broadcast pairs? Will we see that kind of change, or is college going to be a little bit more traditional with their start times? We've seen the SEC get away kind of from the 2:30 thing gradually, right?
We haven't had as much upheaval on the broadcasting teams in college, so that may not have as much maybe an effect that we have in the NFL.
A little, maybe.
But I just think Fox starts at 11. They say, let's swing for the fences at the beginning, where ESPN/ABC says, let's focus on 2:30, and then let's keep that audience to make prime time still important, and to make the marquee game that goes at 6:30 is...
Of the bunch, personally, the one I like the least is the midday game.
The 2:30 game?
Yeah.
Unless you're the SEC on CBS.
I like either 11 or 9:10. And 2:30 is... No, it seems like there's always something to do. Oh, maybe that's just me.
The scene for the Oklahoma game, though, will be what you would imagine, with Oklahoma coming back to Lincoln on the back half of that home and home. And if you have Fox's traveling show, again, Urban Meyer will be here. It will be quite the scene. But it will also be one of those, if you take care of business in your first 3 games.
You think Nebraska would have cared either way if it was Urban Meyer or Stoops?
Yes, that show's different with Urban Meyer. Stoops was good in a short amount of time, and then he got pushed out the door when Urban Meyer wanted to come back. I mean, you don't think Stoops could have done another year? I know he's coaching in the XFL. That's not till next year. He got pushed out the door. the Urban Meyer factor on that show is enormous because of who he is, where he just came from. He's got more of a presence than a Bob Stoops had. But that scene is going to be a big deal. But if you know how this will be presented on both sides. From the Oklahoma side, Brent Venables begins the year at Oklahoma. He's got Dylan Gabriel as his quarterback. People are wondering what Oklahoma is going to be like. They basically have 2 layup games before they come and they play on the road. So it'll be, okay, is this the first time to see if Brent Venables, there's no let up in Oklahoma football. Then you know what the big thing is for Nebraska is this is kind of you take care of business in your first 3 games. All right, let's do a pulse check with Oklahoma, who will roll in preseason top 10.
Ooh, you think?
Outside of the top 10, they will roll in with some accolades.
Wow,
but it'll be a preseason.
They don't strike me as
check.
a top 10 kind of team. I don't know why I haven't done any way too early college footballs. I know more about basketball. Wow, I don't know if I look at Oklahoma as a top 10 team. It might just be me though. I could be missing something.
They are in Athlon's preseason 13.
Yeah, and even that seems generous.
But that will be the first pulse check for Brent Venables.
Yeah.
But it will be a significant pulse check for the Nebraska football program. If you do work in your first 3 games, and you're 3-0, and you welcome in a nationally ranked team, and it's Nebraska, Oklahoma, and you're going to have attention around the game.
So ESPN's list, they've got them at 17. Wow, Okie State at 9.
And I think it's not only with Oklahoma, the absence of your starting quarterback and some other key people, including your former head coach, is you only return 9 starters.
Yeah, top 10 would have been crazy. That struck. I was like, unless I was missing something. I mean, they lost some fellas too. See what happens if Gabriel can be that guy though.
Well, if he can work with Jeff Levy, I mean, they're familiar with each other. From all accounts, they had a really good spring.
You got Asamoah, Benito, and Perrion Winfrey. I mean, they're replacing some fellas.
Mm-hmm. Well, Isaiah Thomas. Ooh. Everybody's got an Isaiah Thomas.
Wow. Ooh.
They're another part of Oklahoma football this year, not only the quarterback, but their supporting cast. I mean, what are they going to get out of the running back position? Eric Gray's coming back. You remember him last year? You remember every game you went, wow. I mean, they could have a true freshman starting at running back in Jermaine Barr. But who's going to be catching the ball outside of Marvin Mims? I mean, they did lose a lot that left to go elsewhere, and they lost guys that go to the draft.
Didn't they get, what's his buckets? Gavin, Sacha.
Yes.
I'll be there too. Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see.
But it'll be a major pulse
need for Nebraska to be 3-0 by then.
Yeah, it'll be a major pulse check game for both sides. Because people will wonder about Venables. Okay, first difficult test, you're on the road. You're taking your quarterback on the road, marquee game everybody's talking about. So I like that it's at 11 a.m. and I don't know, we could text and ask Brady if they made a decision, but would not surprise me if Fox's pregame show set up shop in Lincoln.
Oklahoma's got UTEP, Kent State, and then Nebraska. Very interesting.
2-0 against 3-0?
What do you think?
Almost must to be 3-0 playing in that game. All right, 7:18. We come back. Your chance to win a tabletop grill. You can guess what is Damon's meat of the hour. We're going to do this twice today. Give you a little bonus for the holiday weekend upcoming so you can get your grill game on. The weather is going to be fantastic. Summertime is here. School is out. Football is almost here. What are we, 92 days?
I don't know. No idea.
How about we put you in charge of the countdown?
No.
And every morning you can come in and that's the first thing you say.
Right on.
We got 92 days until football. And my favorite 92 of all time was...
Seems kind of Let me know when we start.
Well, that's August 27th, but we got to have a countdown to get to that start date.
I'm not a countdown guy.
All right, 7:19. Sharp betting in the morning at 16:20 the zone. All right, 7:24 on the Friday. Last Friday of May. Summer is here.
There goes my phone again.
Ended at 2:16 with Michigan winning. They are back at it at 9 this morning in an elimination game between Iowa and Purdue. Iowa put themselves in a deep hole, losing to Penn State yesterday 5-2. So essentially, they've got to win 5 games in 3 days. So it starts at 9. We don't know when it will end, but you get 4 games of baseball downtown. 2:16. Last pitch was at 10:54 last night, or the first pitch of the last game. There you go. 10:54. The last out occurred at 2:16.
That makes for a long night.
So Illinois has to come back and play at 1.
Quick turn.
Creighton got banged yesterday in Cincinnati, so they don't play till 1:30 today. And then if I would have told you, as down in Tulsa at the Summit League baseball tournament, Mike Bovee would have his 29-game hitting streak snap, and Omaha
win.
And Omaha would still win 10-2. You would have said, day drinking?
Yeah.
But they got a great start from the pride of Millard West, Caleb Rydell, and he was dominant. And the pitching for North Dakota State was not very good. Lots of walks, key hits, and Omaha won 10-2. Their pitching staff is intact, and now they play essentially a road game tonight against Oral Roberts.
I like playing against road games.
But they won a series. They won 2 of 3 earlier this year in Tulsa.
Remember when that was a big deal?
Yeah, it's still a big deal. In this tournament, Oral Roberts has got like some ungodly, like they're 69-17 all time in the Summit League baseball tournament. But you are like playing a road game. But when you went to the NCAA tournament a few years ago, you went into Tulsa and ran through that tournament. So that's a huge opportunity for Omaha tonight after winning yesterday, beating a number 1 seed. But they got great pitching, and you didn't need your big bat. I mean, Bovee had 29-game hitting streak. He went 0 for 4, player of the year in the conference. But yet they took advantage of a lot of walks, 12 walks total in that game. And that was and actually, Evan has said they like their matchup better with Oral Roberts than they do with North Dakota State, especially against their arms. And the arm for North Dakota State was not very good yesterday. So that game is at 6 o'clock tonight. My Tennessee Volunteers, you see what they did yesterday?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, caught their act in all its glory.
They,
with each run they tacked on, more obnoxious it got.
They rolled over Vandy, who Tim Corbin said that's one of the most impressive teams he's seen in 20 years.
There's just no easy outs in that lineup. I mean, you got to really be able to pitch it. And you make a mistake, and they make you pay. They make you pay. That's a complete football. That's a complete baseball.
Watching on TV the SEC network and the SEC baseball tournament, I don't know if it reaches the level of a bucket list, but if I ever find myself at the end of May in Hoover, Alabama, as long as it stays there, I think I might be able to. I might wander into that ballpark. The passion those fans in the SEC have for college baseball. I mean, at that conference tournament, that is quite the atmosphere. I mean, they got half the conference going to the NCAA tournament, so it adds to it. But man, the fans lean into that event.
Yeah. I like the fact that I don't know if it was the indoor thing versus the outdoor thing, but you know who has a cool look to their games is the Big 12. At least
because they're playing at Globe Life.
Yeah. It does look a little dark in there, but it looks like a cool setup. Not enough people there, but
and you know, I mean, that venue is way too large for a conference tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, that's about the experience for the players. Hey, you get to go in a major league clubhouse. You're on a major league field.
It's basically the opposite talk of getting those games out of the high school.
Well, it's the Big 12, which, I mean, Bricktown is an ideal spot for them. But they'll go once in a while and they'll say, hey, we got to give a bone to Dallas. Because you remember when they had the so much success at Bricktown Ballpark when Nebraska was in the Big 12, and the convenience of that ballpark and the success of Nebraska playing in that ballpark. But remember when the one year they took it out and they went to the ballpark in Arlington? You could have a Nebraska-Texas game drew like 8,900 fans, and there were still 40,000 empty seats. It just didn't look right. But if you put in 8,900 fans for two non-local teams in Oklahoma City, ballpark looks packed. But that's a facility that speaking of which, on the outside looks like a grill. That's what it does. It looks like a grill outside.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to give away. We're not going to give away Globe Life. We are going to give away a tabletop grill as part of the Great Grill and Griddle giveaway. Start dialing now, 951-1620, 951-1620. Damon, if you've not followed all week long, describes a meat. Usually if you have followed along, and you know Damon's affinity for meat and doing meat well, what he has named over the first 4 days is something that he likes. So it's not going to be something that is just out of the blue. It is something that he likes to cook, he likes to consume.
Yeah,
so
like
that is my hint for all of you today to win, because we're doing this twice. We're going to give away 2 tabletop grills today.
Yeah.
You're not going to come up with something that is like just...
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you about Chateaubriand. Like, I like it, but I wouldn't. That would be something that I would do. I was tempted to do lamb chops, but that'd have been too easy.
All right, so the next time I come to your house, I will not do Chateaubriand.
Yeah. Yeah. Although, if you could afford it, we probably need to have some speaks. Shano?
See that plug?
I'm going to get meat. And I know how to get all the meat off a bone. Yeah, I like meat. No, I don't like sweet meat.
I want to see my meat. I want to be able to look at my meat that I'm eating.
The meat is so big.
Yep. Time to give away a tabletop grill. All right, we start with a couple of hints here, and then we'll go to the phones, 951-1620. You ready?
Yeah. This cut, actually, I got a buddy, my buddy Kevin, turned me on to this cut. He would always talk about it, because we would exchange, pictures, and this has gone on for some years. And he would always bring up this term, and I was like, golly, what is that? And it's not beef, so when he would put the two terms together, I'm like, okay. And then he'd show me some pictures. And then I actually had a couple, because the cut, it's super versatile. It comes from pork. It's right up there. It's from the shoulder. But you can also cut it from the leg or the loin section. It can have some connective tissue. Some people marinate it, some don't. I don't, typically. I can just grill. I like it better. It's a sneaky good cut, man. Some people like the tenderloin. Some people like this cut. Some people like, they'll get the ribs or some parts of the belly. But it is super versatile. Some people like it in, like a slow cooker. I don't. I grill it just like I would its counterpart on the cow. You can get bone in, or you can get boneless. Just depends on the cut. Nice, affordable piece of meat that doesn't need a lot of work, at least in my opinion.
And there will be plenty of people that will be eating this meat this weekend.
Yeah, I think it's kind of relatively new. Maybe the last couple, 2-3 years. It's interesting because when you get a pig butchered, they'll ask you about this particular cut in terms of what you want to do with it. So you got options.
All right. Those are the clues. This is Nick. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning.
What's up? What cut am I talking about?
I am just going to throw this out there. It's probably not right, but Windsor chop?
It is not. It is not.
That was an interesting guess.
Yeah, that's pretty particular. This one is not as... This is a little more general.
All right. Jeff, good morning. Jeff?
Yeah.
You're on the air, Jeff.
What's up, buddy?
Hey. I am foolish on this one, and I know it. I mean, the stuff that comes to mind, so I mean, I'm out. I'm foolish on this one.
All right, it's pretty underappreciated. It's pretty underappreciated.
Thanks, Jeff. Here's Jim. Good morning, Jim.
Morning.
What is name?
It's not Featherbones. You're saying for
I almost picked Featherbones today. I almost picked. Remember, it comes from the shoulder. Some people, you can get a few from the loin, but you just got to cut a little bit through the connective tissues by the joint, and most people get them about half-inch thick, maybe.
pork chop. I don't know.
Incorrect. I actually like this better than the pork. I like this better than the pork chop.
Here is Caleb. Hello, Caleb.
Hey, guys.
Caleb, what's up, buddy? What cut of meat am I describing?
From the shoulder, it can be from the shoulder.
Yeah. It's cut from the shoulder of the old.
What was that?
That was the piglet.
Boston butt.
It is not the butt.
This is proving to be a little bit more difficult than I thought.
I don't think a lot of people utilize it.
Okay. You have another clue? Because you're getting close to giving it away.
It has a beef counterpart.
Okay. That's a good clue. All right, let's see if that helps Damien here. Good morning, Damien.
Good morning, fellas. How y'all doing? Well, at least, how are you doing? I ain't talking to them.
Damien, I'm doing wonderful. The sun is out. We're up. We're having a show, and you've called us.
I feel terrible, too, because we were at... We weren't even too far from you a couple weeks ago, man.
I do barbecue over here.
But you keep those banker hours.
And you will, because I get here at 4 in the morning to get the meat on, man. You can cook all night. This ain't no fly-by 5 hour, 3 hour breakfast.
Hey, listen, you know what's funny, too? That's our stop when we get on the road.
I see you over here. I see you when you see you no more.
Damien, you do great work, by the way.
Hey, this might be in your wheelhouse, though.
You throwing me off kind of with the blues.
Super versatile. But I like it plain.
And you said it wasn't a butt, right?
Nope.
And it comes from the shoulder, so it can't be a pork shoulder. It can't be the pork shoulder.
Nope.
It ain't much of a pig that's much left besides the ham.
I'm telling you, it is. You gotta try it.
I'm gonna go pork steak, maybe.
It is a pork steak.
Oh.
It is a pork. See, not enough people. It started in the South, right? Like it was utilized a lot of plantations, kind of slaves, but it's way good. And I think it's better than the pork chop myself.
Now, you know my cousin. He does a hell of a pork steak.
How does he do it?
The Yoda. You know the Yoda.
Yeah, Yoder, the cookie machine.
No, Dale.
Oh yeah, yes I do.
You know.
How does he do them? How does he do it?
We're gonna give you the secret. I mean, but it's just low and slow.
Yeah, the low and slow is kind of the way that a lot of people go. But if you marinate it, you can just grill it like a regular steak.
Yeah, but see, I marinate everything, so that's just part of the process.
All right, D, man, I'm gonna stop letting you down.
Hey, Damien, thanks.
I wear something. I hopped out to the car just to have me a little cigarette. I heard something was going on. I called, and I seen Damien was talking about barbecue, and was like, let me just call.
Hey, Damien, you stop by. You pick up the tabletop grill, and we'll exchange. We'll give you a grill for me.
Hey, no problem. I'll do that with you. You just make sure you eat it in front of Damien.
I will. Damien, you're a good man.
All right.
We'll put you on hold. Shane will talk to you.
I wanted to use Featherbone so bad. I almost did. But, a lot of people don't. Especially here, don't.
Well, because it's not really accessible here.
It's hard to get fresh. You can get them frozen. Frozen box of Featherbone.
But if your first Featherbone is frozen, you're not getting the experience.
You can cheat and get away with it, but you get a nice cut, some cuts of Featherbones. A lot of people don't like the fact they don't have a ton of them. But yeah, the pork steak, that's kind of my new baby.
If you missed out on this opportunity to guest Damon's meat, like Damien, we'll do this again coming up next hour. We've got Mike Sauter, Matt Verzal, and we'll talk NBA with Sean Devaney with all of you. Sharp Betting in the Morning at 1620 The Zone.
I think we are actually going to head to the closest airport at this point. We are down to 32% fuel, so it's about time to land. Nice little rainbow you can see through the clouds. We'll be landing shortly. But until then, we'll go to the next segment of the Sharp and Benning radio show.
We got baseball going on. We got a lot of events going on. We got a lot of people that are going to be at the lake. Weather's going to be good. We got a summer sequel. Top Gun, yay or nay?
I'll probably be slow to go.
It's one of those that...
not really my jam, although the old Top Gun, the original, was on last night.
It's, this one is getting actually really good reviews.
Is it?
It gives a good ode to the previous. The action scenes are still really, really good. But everybody is saying, because it's not out on streaming anywhere, legally, you have to go see this one in the movie theater. And if by chance you can see it in an IMAX, the better.
Yeah,
it's got that kind of sound effects and action.
I didn't love the original, but I'm not a Tom Cruise guy, so that's probably part of it.
Huh?
Yeah, I just never have gotten into it. So, Top Gun was fine. I've seen it
4,000 times.
Yeah, but probably...
Sounds like you lost that love and feeling for Top Gun.
I've probably only seen it in its entirety, maybe 2 or 3 times. There are particular scenes that I love, but I've probably only seen it start to finish twice.
Are you saying that the one scene you do like, you've used that pickup line before?
No, I was in middle school, and we sang that song on our way. We were playing it in Florida for baseball for Gladiators. We sang that song probably 227 trillion times. I'm over that part. But like just last night, I stopped to hear the part where, where he got Jester and he flew below the deck.
Yeah.
And he was reprimanded by Tom Skerritt and requested permission for the flyby. And how Val Kilmer did the most annoying, low-key, oh, by the way thing ever in a movie that sticks in my craw. When he fake snapped his gum at Tom Cruise in the locker room. That's the most annoying 1.5 second clip ever, because I would have slapped him. Just for no other reason than he looked like an idiot.
Val Kilmer played that character perfectly.
Yeah, that was
now, his son is in this movie. Shane, you might know this. Did Val Kilmer make a quick cameo in this one? He has had some health issues.
Well,
Shane just talked about how terrible he looked.
Well, I know there's a picture of him in it. There's a picture of him on the wall, because he's an admiral now. So, and Tom Cruise looks at a picture of him on the wall. I know that's in there. I don't know if he's in there personally in the movie. He probably is.
Is that a must-see for you?
No. But here's the thing, and I told Gary this, and I was telling Mike DeVille, our traffic guy, or afternoon traffic guy, this. I was telling him the other day.
And I'm Mike DeVille.
The thing about this movie that is intriguing, or at least when it comes to Tom Cruise, I know you're not a Tom Cruise guy because you just said, but here's the thing that Tom Cruise has that most of these other 80s actors like Stallone is and Neville brought up Stallone, so I'll give him that one. But like Stegall and Arnold and Bruce, even though Bruce has had some issues lately, so
Is that
made
Stegall like Beanie?
Like Steven Stegall.
Stegall?
Yeah, Stegall.
Okay. Keep going.
Jean-Claude Van Damme, Mel Gibson. You know, there's a list here, but at least when it comes to those '80s guys like that, and you throw Tom Cruise in there, he at least appears to still care to a certain extent and still wants to make a good movie. So I would take that into consideration that he probably went out of his way and probably made this one of the best movies he could make. You know, just going down. I mean, you know, because that's the feeling.
I don't think he'll ever top A Few Good Men.
Maybe not, but that's the feeling I get from.
Or Jean-Claude Van Damme.
That's the feeling I get from Tom Cruise. He at least still cares. He at least still cares and still wants to put a good product out there. So if you're
Is he
going to go,
still snapping at people?
That's Val.
No. He lost his mind.
Well, they were filming
while they were filming
during COVID.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he lost his loving feeling.
You need to close your eyes. Take your ass back to bed. Yeah, I mean, I'll probably.
It's a summer sequel.
Okay,
so, and
I'm sure there's the part where they parallel where somebody of significance dies. They have to recover. Yeah, see, I don't.
Well, they've been wanting to.
I don't want to go through all that.
They'd been wanting to make this movie for like 10 years.
Yeah.
But there was other circumstances that made it so they couldn't make the movie until about now. So.
I did see
it never struck me as a movie where I was clamoring to have a sequel.
Yeah,
but I will go watch it because I'm one of the rare ones that probably I don't think it was his best movie. Again, Few Good Men is the top Tom Cruise movie.
Better than the Mission Impossibles?
Yes. Oh, I even think Magnolia is better than the original Mission Impossible.
Who was in Magnolia? Every time I hear Magnolia, I think of like
Still Magnolias.
No, I think of rap in the Dirty South. Magnolia.
So in Magnolia,
probably over both your heads.
So he was a pickup artist. He was like a motivational speaker who reconnects with his dying father. He was not likable, but he had great range. Like Ray Liotta passed away yesterday, and I was thinking about like Ray Liotta and the characters that he played in some of his best movies had like great range. Like you look at Ray Liotta could be a dark character, and then he could also be this like attractive. Oh my gosh, smoking a cigarette in Goodfellas, you're like, women are like fainting.
He was still a dark character in Goodfellas.
Yeah, but he could play both. He had great range. But here's the thing.
I just remember him being a creep in Unlawful Entry.
But here's the thing about Ray Liotta. If you agree with me or not, I don't know that Hollywood ever knew what to do with him.
Well, is he kind of a typecast guy?
He was, and then he wasn't.
You're saying for Goodfellas type of movies?
Yeah.
You know, I didn't realize him and Bruce Willis were the same age.
And I was talking to my mom yesterday because I had to stop over there, and she's like on the. She's probably talking to my sisters or something. And she's like showing me that it came across on her phone. I didn't realize she was such a fan. I was walking into the bathroom and I was like, golly. Bruce Willis and Ray Liotta, bad news on the same day. And Bruce Willis is still alive. Yep. Those videos were circulating.
Yeah, he's battling some
where he's just not doing very well.
I think Ray Liotta's Hollywood legacy, and he's got a plethora of films. But you're right. The Gangster was kind of where he got typecast from Goodfellas, and then the Sopranos movie that he did recently. But you look at, like, Henry Hill is one of the better characters of all time in Goodfellas. Just the moments of him, I mean, like little words, little phrases, actions. He didn't even have to say anything in that movie, and you're like, man, that's a dude. He was okay in Field of Dreams. But
never saw it.
He will always be Goodfellas.
And I've never seen Cocktail. I do know what it's about because I've seen clips. But Josh says, and I would probably agree with this, range equals Cruise making Rain Man and Cocktail in the same year. Rain Man has got to be up there for one of his best movies. Shoot, Rain Man may be better than A Few Good Men. A Few Good Men was only good like for 40 minutes. Right? Am I misremembering?
I would go a little bit more.
That's a snoozer for like half of that show.
So if you're looking at it from the whole Tom Cruise experience, A Few Good Men gave you everything you wanted. Did you not had you had Tom Cruise as a lawyer, you had sports guy Tom Cruise, you had drunk Tom Cruise, you had uniform Tom Cruise. I was with somebody and we went and saw that movie, and she said that's the hottest Tom Cruise has ever looked. I mean, I should actually knock that down a couple. But I would think, like, the movies that stand out when I think of, like, Tom Cruise, the actor, Color of Money. Really
I don't
good.
even remember. I remember that. I remember, but I don't remember what it was about.
The movie that basically elevated Tom Cruise to where he is today into stardom was Risky Business.
Never saw that.
Did you ever see... We saw Jerry Maguire.
Oh, yeah. Which is maybe one of the greatest movies ever.
Did you ever see Collateral?
No.
He was a hitman?
No.
Yeah, no, that was...
Wow.
So you should... I think you would like...
Rain Man and Jerry Maguire have to be considerably better than A Few Good Men.
On my list, no.
Huh.
I think you would like Collateral, by the way. So he gets into... He is a hitman, and Jamie Foxx is in the movie, and so he kidnaps...
Oh, that just came out a couple years ago.
He kidnaps
right?
Jamie
4 or 5
Foxx.
years ago?
Yeah.
Okay. I do remember that.
But it's also...
The Mayor, he likes Magnolia. You referenced that earlier. I've never seen it. I'll Google. Magnolia.
One quick thing here about...
Google it. I am going to Google it. Yeah, so...
Nikki says, saw the movie last night, fantastic. I think she's referring to Val Kilmer, had a 5-minute appearance.
Yeah, so Corey, he said that there's an article, and I was just reading that one earlier about, it's on Yahoo News. He said there's an article out there from this week where about Val Kilmer's daughter. He does make a cameo, and apparently it was pretty emotional.
Surprisingly...
Spoiler alert.
Surprisingly in sequels, this is getting really good reviews. You know, because usually sequels are held, or most people are like...
Especially for a movie that was so popular.
Well, yeah, and it's not really, you know... I mean, it's not a movie that appeals to everybody. The reviews are really good. You know, I have not run across many reviews that are like, this, they should have never done this, Tom Cruise is washed up.
Yeah.
They're like, this
well,
is
Shane,
really good.
allegedly, according to Shane, it's because he cares. Unlike Jean-Claude Van Damme, Steven Seagal.
There's Chris in Vegas. Oh, Chris.
Morning, gentlemen. How are you today?
What's up, Chris?
Hey, y'all talking about Top Gun, the second one. It was supposed to be released the summer of 2020, then COVID hit. That movie's been sitting for over 2 years. And you mentioned that you thought that's one of that Tom Cruise snapped in. No, he snapped when he was making Mission Impossible.
Oh, is that? Yeah, it was one of those, right? Where he like lost his mind on the crew for not being responsible.
Yeah. And another movie you guys forgot was Born on the 4th of July.
Yeah.
Never sat through it. That was back during the stretch, Chris, where it was hard for me to sit through war-themed movies. That's kind of not my deal.
I totally understand.
Hey, Chris, I'm glad you brought that up. He should have won the Oscar over Daniel Day-Lewis.
In 4th of July.
And, Born on the 4th of July.
Yeah. I appreciate it, Chris.
Chris, thanks for the call.
So it will be interesting to see if any of these other guys that are in the original Tom Cruise
Chris must
movie,
not sleep if he's still in Vegas.
Didn't
he sell his house, though?
That if any of the other guys like Tim Robbins or Meg Ryan, or I mean, there was a lot of people in the first movie, so it'd be interesting to see if any of the other people have cameos in the new Meg Ryan.
All right, so we've landed at Deer Lake. We will take off from there next time. I kind of want to keep live time and weather on as much as I can. Obviously, if I get to Europe and the Far East, things like that, I probably will have to adjust the time at least. I want to keep the live weather on as much as possible. Obviously, today it was a lot of clouds and not as scenic when you're flying around and you just see solid gray. I'm hoping that if I do a flight tomorrow, Sunday, May 29th, it'll be a little bit sunnier there. Of course, I can always change the weather, but I'm trying not to do that. But next time we will take off from Deer Lake. I believe this is Labrador, Newfoundland and Labrador. I think this is the Labrador part. And then we will fly over Grossmorn National Park, fly northeast, get up into the Newfoundland section, I think, fly up the coast, and then eventually we'll get up to the Arctic Circle and Baffin Island. But that'll be a couple flights down the road. But for now, signing out from Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 World Tour.